Chapter 2391. As long as one had a registered account, he or she couldn't escape the investigation of the Huiyun police station. Obviously, Teacher Tong of the hair salon was such a person with a legal identity. They were still in the hot pot restaurant, but the information about Tony had been sent to Sirma. Tony, whose original name was Di Qinglong, was born in Huiyun City. He was expelled because of a scandal with a female teacher when he was in college. At the age of 18, he debuted in the most famous red light district of Huiyun City under the stage name of Roland. In the second year after his debut, Roland became the most popular male escort in the red light district. Not only were rich Andes willing to spend money, but there were also many young girls who were willing to spend a lot of money. In fact, there was once a rich woman who bought half an hour of advertising time in a red light district just to show her love for him. Around the age of 26, Roland suddenly announced his retirement. The year he retired, his company's business dropped by 50%. It took him almost half a year to nurture more than a dozen newcomers in a row before he recovered. Roland disappeared for nearly 4 years. When he reappeared, he opened this hair salon on one of the commercial streets of Huiyun City. The business was still very good. Female fans are so *king scary. Shimin Ka sighed after reading the information. What? Are you looking down on women? Sirma took a piece of luncheon meat from Shimin Ka's hand with chopsticks and sneered disdainfully. Don't fake it. Shimin Ka rolled her eyes and thought for a while. Di Qinglong is also from Huiyun High School, as if you're not from there. Sirma shook his head and said, Who hasn't been to Huiyun High School for cultivation in Huiyun City? Didn't I graduate from there? Shimin Ka shrugged and didn't say anything. In the past, Huiyun High School was not like this. At that time, it was still completely public. But later, with the rise of Tai Luosha and the rise of Flat Sky Group, Huiyun High School unconsciously became a plaything of capital, even though Niu Dawang didn't pay much attention to the education business. Although Flaming Cloud High School had become the Flat Sky Corporation, the only thing that didn't change was the fact that they recruited students with cultivation aptitude. In the world of Azure Blue, both humans and demons could cultivate at the beginning. They could reach the beginner level in the basic cultivation method. However, most people could only reach the beginner level in their whole lives. At most, they would be strong and know a little light body technique. They would not be sick or in pain. In old age, they could still be strong and live for more than 80 or 90 years. However, if one wanted to break through the entry level and advance to the next level, one would need the so-called aptitude for cultivation. Fire Cloud High School accepted such students who had the potential to break through the entry level. Do you think there is something wrong with Di Qinglong? Sirma suddenly asked. Shimin Ka muttered, I'm just curious about his action of giving a gift to Gu Zhe. Besides, he actually came after I left the hospital. The mysterious person who gave the gift that I found was not him. In other words, there are actually 2 gifts? Sirma blinked. Shimin Ka didn't say anything. She just popped up a picture. In the picture was a nurse with a sweet smile and a peace sign. Only in the corner of the picture were 2 small gift boxes. Sirma too. Zero scratched his head and looked at Di Qinglong's picture carefully. I don't see how this guy is handsome. Isn't he almost the same? He even compared himself with Di Qinglong. Shimin Ka shook her head. By the way, you said before you came here that you had a new discovery. What is it? Sirma said mysteriously. Do you know that the first victim, Wang Badan, is related to the second victim, Gu Yao? I just came out of the hospital this afternoon. Shimin Ka squinted at him. Officer Ma chuckled. But do you know that Wang Badan's family has always strongly opposed the relationship between the 2 of them? They even contacted Gu Yao more than once in private. Wang family? Shimin Ka thought for a while. Wang Baiwan, the current headmaster of Fiery Cloud High School. Sirma nodded and then took out a recording pen. We found this in Gu Yao's rented house. She secretly recorded the conversation with the Wang family. I think that after listening to this, you should be able to understand why Gu Yao has always refused the help of Wang Badan and Huiyun City's eldest miss. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that Gu Yao thought her brother's death was entirely because of Wang Badan, so she would rather rely on herself than accept help. Shiminka didn't say anything. She put on the earphones and pressed the button of the recording pen. Is there no law? Law? What is law? In this world, only the strong can make the law. Although our Wong family can't cover the sky with one hand in Fiery Cloud City. Do you know how deep our roots are in Fiery Cloud City? Today your brother is lying here. Maybe tomorrow it will be you. The headmaster's meaning is very simple. You're not allowed to have any contact with Miss Wong anymore. Do you want to climb up the social ladder? No way. My brother is also a member of the team of the eldest daughter of Fiery Cloud City. I'm not afraid of you. Miss Redchild will help me. Do you know who the eldest daughter of the Wong family is? She is Mayor Tai's nanny, and she watched him grow up. If you dare to tell Miss Redchild about this, who do you think she will help? You'd better bite us, but if you can't, what will be waiting for you? Think about it yourself. Shiminka should have finished listening to the recording, but Sir Ma saw that she pressed the button again. In fact, he had listened to the recording several times before he came here. Finally, Shiminka finished the last plate of beef and took off the earphones. What's wrong? Sir Ma too? Zero asked curiously. Shiminka thought for a while and shrugged. The old love story between a rich girl and a poor boy. What else could it be? Do you want to say that Wang Badan's death was Gu Yao's revenge on the Wang family? Don't forget that she died the next day. Sir Ma said coldly, there's no case that can't be solved in Kanglan, not in Fiery Cloud City. Let's go to prison number 9. You don't always think about cheating. Shiminka smiled bitterly. It's not that serious. Sir Ma didn't say anything. Shiminka thought for a while and said, can you find out who the man in the recording is? Take it back and do a voice print analysis. Officer Ma thought for a moment and said, he claimed to be from the Wong family. The Wong family is famous in Huiyun City. It shouldn't be difficult to find him. Give me one night. See you tomorrow. Shiminka looked at the time and hurriedly stood up. I have something to do. See you tomorrow. Sir Ma nodded. When he was about to pack the rest of the ingredients, he remembered that Shiminka didn't pay the bill. The door wasn't closed, so she didn't need to go through the wall. Nan Xiaonan clenched her fists and raised her head with tears running down her face. Finally, I don't have to sleep on the street tonight. Luckily, I came back early tonight. Could it be that the boss and Miss Yi suddenly felt shy and impatient tonight? Boss, Miss Yi. After stealthily pushing open the door, Ms. Nan saw the boss and Ms. Servant Girl sitting in the lobby of the shop. This time, it didn't look like a clinic. Instead, it looked like a shop. Boss Luo was sitting in front of the bar, holding his chin and looking at Miss Maid mixing drinks. Soft music was playing from the gramophone. Lady Nan, who had the ultimate titanium alloy eyes, wasn't blinded by the light and walked over calmly. Boss Luo suddenly said at this time, today, another murder case happened. Nan Xiaonan nodded. I saw it. The person died on the street, and it immediately became a hot topic. The police couldn't even cover it up. Is it the same murderer? Boss Luo didn't answer, but thought for a while and said, the person who died was Gu Zhe's elder sister, Gu Yao. That be asterisk starred boyfriend's elder sister? Miss then also sat down. She had just started investigating Gu Zhe, and she had asked little Gio to do it while she was analyzing the surveillance footage in the internet cafe. Yes. Boss Luo nodded. When the body was found, the head was cut off and sewn on the chest. The body was transported away. It seems that we can only wait for the autopsy report. Lady Nan's fingers couldn't help trembling. She had the urge to dissect the body again. Anyway, the boss must know something, but he didn't say it directly. Boss, I remember that I have something to do. I'll go out first. She stood up and hurried out of the shop without looking back. Miss Maid walked to the door and shouted at her back. Nan Xiaonan, be careful on the road. After that, Miss Maid locked the door and set up 180 layers of bounded domain. She returned to the main room. At this time, Boss Luo was holding a piece of pink square origami paper full of folds between his fingers. Legend, Miss Maid said softly. Each paper crane carries a little wish. When 1,000 of them are gathered, they can become a wish and bring happiness to the one you like. When do you think this legend started? Boss Luo suddenly asked. Miss Maid didn't give an answer. Boss Luo said, if even you don't know about it, then it has probably been circulating since the primordial. She couldn't help thinking. Boss Luo said $9.99. Miss Maid raised her head in confusion. Boss Luo said, in the ward, there are only 999. One more is missing. Huiyun City, the expressway station. Wang Jufu was smoking a cigarette in front of the window in the corridor outside the lounge. At this moment, a man walked over quickly. Young master, is it Wang Lu? Is it done? Wang Jufu turned around casually. The man named Wang Lu was in his early 30s and looked quite loyal. Young master, this is your and madam's ticket. You will leave in half an hour. You can wait for the bus. Wang Jufu nodded and walked to the lounge. He instructed, I will probably stay in my hometown for a few days before coming back. During this time, you have to take good care of my father. If anything happens, inform me immediately. Don't worry, young master. Wang Lu nodded. I will take good care of old master. You and madam must take good care of yourself this time. Wang Jufu didn't say anything. He just patted Wang Lu's shoulder and then opened the door of the lounge. He was about to say something, but the words were stuck in his mouth. There was no one in the lounge. His wife, who should have been waiting here, was missing. Find her. Wang Jufu shuddered. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and bring madam back. She walked into the room from the terrace with a special night market telescope in her hand. Niu Dagwang isn't in the flat sky building tonight. She couldn't help but mutter to herself. Tonight, she didn't scare that timid guy, so she didn't have the energy to do anything. Iron Luocha was bored to death as she sat in front of the desk full of official documents and pondered. There was a knock on the door. Come in, she said casually. An old woman slowly walked in with a plate of food. Miss, you didn't eat anything for dinner, so I made some fire lotus seed soup for you. Thank you, Annie Wong. Iron Luocha nodded slightly. Put the food down, I will eat later. An old woman. Annie Wong put down the plate and said in a low voice, Miss, are you still worried about that vixen? Did you find her? Iron Luocha's face instantly darkened. Annie Wong shook her head. Look for her for 3 more days. If there is still no news, maybe we can only ask the Dieting Organization. Iron Luocha pondered for a while. Put this matter aside for now and let others handle it. Annie, do you want to take a break these few days? I heard about what happened to your family. Annie Wong's face suddenly darkened, and she said in a low voice, Thank you, miss, for thinking about this old woman's matter, but there is still million to take care of the family matters, so there won't be any problems. But I'm worried about Mississippi. I'm afraid you won't be used to someone else taking care of you. You have always been very loyal. Iron Luocha said with a sigh, Auntie, if there is anything you need my help with, just ask. I have already called the Flaming Cloud Police Headquarters and told them to catch the murderer as soon as possible. Thank you, Mississippi. Annie Wong slowly knelt down. Iron Luocha quickly walked forward and helped the old woman up. That year, I was lucky enough to escape from the Ghost Country's coup. If not for Annie's family taking me in, I am afraid I would have already. Iron Luocha said that as long as I exist, your Wong family will also exist. I will never go back on my words. The fire lotus seed soup is cold. Annie Wong said softly, Eat Mississippi, okay? The relationship between master and servant was deep. End of this chapter. Chapter 2392. Medical Examiner Fong. Didn't you just get off work? Why are you, well, I left something in my office. This was not the entrance of the HQ, but the passage between the buildings in Huiyun HQ. Medical Examiner Fong casually walked past the guard. But soon, Medical Examiner Fong came back. Why are there so many decoration materials in my office? The guard blinked and said subconsciously, Didn't you say that the renovation team was not allowed to touch your place when you were not present? You said that there were a lot of instruments and information inside, and you were afraid that they would be damaged. So, I remember now. It's fine. Under the guard's puzzled gaze, Medical Examiner Fong walked into the most gloomy passage in Huiyun HQ, the dissection room. In the cultivation world of heavenly blue, would the people who had mastered the cultivation method be afraid of ghosts? Of course. Ghosts were capable of dealing true magic damage, while the common cultivation methods that people mastered could only achieve physical defense at most. Therefore, ghosts were extremely terrifying. Ghosts were cute. Nan Xiaonan thought that if she mastered the method of summoning spirits, she could solve 99% of the unsolved cases. Of course, she had to cooperate with the summoned spirits. Although she was only using the identity of Old Fong, she had a good understanding of the structure of Huiyuan HQ. For example, Sima 2.0 was in charge of the Serious Crimes Department, which was responsible for the major cases. There were many other departments that maintained the daily operations of Huiyuan HQ. These departments were like the police stations in subworld number 003 of the ordinary society. However, Azure Blue was a cultivation civilization of the immortal path. In order to deal with criminals with strong martial arts, they would normally have a special task force. They could use the simulator that was developed to deal with cultivators. In addition, there were many strange departments. For example, the divination department was used to find the hiding location of fugitives. However, it was not accurate when it came to powerful criminals. For example, the weapons and elixir research department was a department that provided weapons and elixir research and development. As the name suggested, it was a department that provided weapons and elixir research and development. There were even departments that could summon spirit beasts, but there was no department that could summon ghosts. Under the Fire Cloud General Headquarters, there were also 4 branches in the north, south, east, and west. Together, they formed a large net that maintained the security of Fire Cloud City. Apart from the local army, they were the largest organization of violence. Of course, this did not include the Pink Tian Group. In Flaming Cloud City, it could be said that the Flat Sky Group was the only big company. Then, Tai Luocha rose to power and became the new mayor. Logically speaking, Old Neo and his wife should be the real local tyrant when they work together. But in fact, Nan Xiaonan realized that Tai Luocha's control over the Fire Cloud General Headquarters was not as strong as she imagined. The authority of the Fire Cloud General Headquarters was semi-independent. Even as the mayor of Fiery Cloud City, he only supervised the Fiery Cloud General Headquarters. In terms of administration, he didn't have the ability to directly interfere because all the law enforcement agencies in Blue Heaven were nominally subordinate to Kunlun's Southern Sky Gate Public Security Bureau. The appointment of every local police chief and branch chief had to be nominated by the local government. In the end, it was officially appointed by the Southern Sky Gate. Only then would it be effective. I remember that Blue Heaven doesn't seem to have a country. Lady Nin muttered as she put on the surgical gloves. Overall, it's like the structure of the Federation. After putting on the gloves, the next step was to prepare to dissect the corpse. But looking at the construction materials piled up around her, Lady Nin suddenly felt that she couldn't do anything. It doesn't make sense. She frowned subconsciously. Why do we have to wait for him to be here before we can start? If it was because they were afraid that the equipment and information here would be damaged, but the construction team could only work when the forensic officer was here, then wouldn't the forensic officer be unable to work? At the very least, if it was Nan Xiaonan herself, she would like to dissect the corpse in a quiet environment while listening to music. What's hidden here? She suddenly thought of something. Nan Xiaonan blinked her eyes and decided to do a little more. She stood in the middle of the room and closed her eyes. At the same time, her skin began to dissolve, slowly emitting wisps of grayish-black fog. The fog began to spread and soon filled the entire room. She didn't leave out any nooks and crannies, not even the ventilation ducts. After a while, Nan Xiaonan suddenly opened her eyes and walked directly to the operating table used for dissecting the corpse. She moved the table away, then squatted down and used the scalpel to pry open a piece of the wooden floor. She saw a pentagonal hole on the floor, a keyhole. Oh, yes, don't work too hard. Don't worry about the crops. It's almost summer vacation, right? Let's wait for me to come back during the holidays. Teacher Little Who climbed up the narrow staircase. The phone call was from home. It was from his mother. Blind date. Teacher Xiao Who pointed at the wallet at his waist and shook his head. I don't want to think about these things for now. I want to focus on my career. The school gave me a heavy task, so I have to work harder. The director said that I might be able to lead the high school team in the next international competition. Really, how could it not be? TV? If you can lead the team, Of course you'll be on TV. Bring glory to our ancestors? Of course. Mom, let's talk later. I have to lead the students for training. Okay, I will take care of my rest. He stood in front of the door and sighed slightly. After a while, he took out the key and opened the door. The TV was still on, but there was no one on the sofa. Teacher Xiao, who heard the sound of running water from the bathroom and knew that Gao Yang was in there. Teacher Xiao, who shook his head and turned off the TV with the remote control. He didn't think to say goodbye to Gao Yang and walked into his own room. To him, even though he and Gao Yang were renting together, they didn't have much interaction. He always felt that Gao Yang was a very mysterious guy who would often disappear for a few days and would often stay in his rented apartment for a few days without going out. Gao Yang was the type who wouldn't work as long as he didn't starve to death. Gao Yang was probably the first person that teacher Xiao who knew who didn't have any desires. In the room, teacher Xiao who hung the new clothes he bought on a string to prevent them from wrinkling. He would wear them to the audition tomorrow. Teacher Xiao who laid on the bed and looked at the screen of his phone. Some headlines popped up. Sang Kun caught. 9-striped dragon arrested. Click on the small picture to see the big picture. The small forest project is temporarily suspended, possibly due to geological problems. Click on the link to the new page. Firecloud headquarters announced that interest rates will be raised in the second half of this year. Royal Casino AO Min welcomes you. Crime scene in downtown. Lives are thinner than paper. Beautiful women have short lives. The death of a call girl. Is it a loss of humanity or... Brother, come to my live broadcast room. Let's set an alarm. He fell into a deep sleep, as if something was wrapped around him, as if he was immersed in amniotic fluid. His body became very light. Boss, I'm off work too. See you tomorrow. Okay, I'll lock the door. After sending off the last employee, Tony turned off the lights and locked the door. Then, he went to the nearby parking lot to pick up his car and left. After midnight, Firecloud City was like another world. At least 1/3 of the city was still brightly lit. Most of them were concentrated in the central city, and there was another concentrated in the eastern part of Firecloud City. The eastern part was also the area that developed the most rapidly besides the central city. Tony's home was in the eastern part. The distance between the districts wasn't short, but with the speed of the flying car, the commute time was at most 40 minutes. Moreover, the flying car itself was on autopilot, so the 40 minutes was enough for people to take a break. As for the accident of the autopilot, it was definitely not a problem with the brakes. It must be a human error. Would the battery explode? It was all powered by spirit stones, okay? How could spirit stones explode? Tony was rich, no matter in the past or now. The flying car slowly landed in the parking lot of a high-end apartment in the eastern part. Speaking of which, this apartment was given to him by a former customer. Later, after the customer died, her son came to the door. Unfortunately, the apartment had been transferred to Tony's name at that time, so she couldn't sue him. In the end, nothing was settled. However, Tony had disappeared for a few years. After he reappeared, not many people knew about him, especially in this apartment building. They only knew that he was a successful person who opened a high-end hair salon in the central city, where the rent was the most expensive in Firecloud City. Mr. D, are you off work? I'll open the door for you. The service in the high-end apartment building was quite considerate. Even a small thing like pressing the elevator button was done by a beautiful housekeeper with a good figure and appearance. Of course, there was more personal service. I want to rest early tonight. After a slight decline of the beautiful housekeeper's hint, Tony returned to the front of the door. The first lock was the fingerprint, the second lock was the pupil, the third lock was the voice print, and finally, the last lock was the ordinary key. The moment he opened the door, the atmosphere of the whole living room was lit up instantly. After opening so many locks, Tony finally saw a figure sitting on the sofa. Tony! Di Qinglong paused for a moment, then put down the key with a normal look. He walked to the refrigerator, took a bottle of ice water, walked to the figure, and slowly sat down. Next time you come, register in the lobby. Di Qinglong said indifferently. It's okay to have 1 or 2 friends here occasionally. At least the property management and neighbors won't think that I'm a loner. Why? Did I ruin your business? The man chuckled. The housekeeper downstairs is good. Don't you want to bring her up? Di Long said indifferently. What's the matter? The man leaned forward, put his elbows on his knees, and showed his whole face. This man was Tank, the boss of the Tank Bar, which specialized in selling information in the Infinite City. I didn't want to disturb you, Tank said seriously. It's the one on the upper level who wants to see you. Di Long couldn't help but frown. I remember that I've left the Infinite City, right? Tank said casually. Your resident status hasn't been revoked. The resident status was given by the Thunder Emperor. As long as the Thunder Emperor doesn't revoke it, you'll always be a resident of the Infinite City. Di Long was silent for a moment, and then said, What do you want? Tank said, Roland, you're a very good spy. You've had enough rest. The Heavenly King of the Black Mountain hopes that you can continue to create more value for the Infinite City. Your shop in the Central City is doing well now. Most of the customers are ladies of the city. You've always been good at dealing with women. Di Long said, I'm already past my prime. Now I'm just an ordinary middle-aged uncle. Aren't you overestimating me? Tank stared at him and said seriously, Do 3 more things for the Heavenly King. After that, I'll plead with the Heavenly King to revoke your resident status. You said the same last time. 3 more things, that's the rule. Tank smiled and said, You'll leave after you get 10 things, right? I'll think about it, Di Long said in a low voice. It had better not take too long. Tank narrowed his eyes. Then he took out a document and pushed it on the coffee table. You should know that the Heavenly King's patience has never been very good. The time I can buy you is not much. Di Long frowned, picked up the document bag, took out the information inside, and glanced at it. His face changed slightly. Tank stood up and said casually, As long as you're a resident of the Infinite City, no matter where you are and what you've done, we'll know it clearly. Roland. With that, Tank jumped down from the balcony. His movement was silent, but it still startled the birds that were resting, the red-eyed birds. The birds flew away hurriedly and flew away. After Tank landed, he tapped twice on the dial of his watch. After a stream of light, he turned into an ordinary-looking man. Then, he sat in a flying car and drove into the night. The bird hovered in the air for a while, then suddenly fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Not long after, Shimin Ka walked over slowly. At this time, there was a silver-gray eagle on his shoulder, and the eagle's eyes were red. Shimin Ka looked at the broken body of the bird on the ground and muttered, He's really careful, and he doesn't have any compassion at all. At this time, the silver-gray eagle was whispering something in Shimin Ka's ear. It was repeating what the bird saw and heard. Roland, Limitless City, the lock under the operating table was opened by Xing Chuang. Nan Xiaonan threw a button from Xing Chuang without hesitation because she was immune to physical objects. Move out. Soldier number 3. Chapter 2393. Safe. Not long after, soldier number 3 bounced back into Nan Xiaonan's hand. Since there was no danger, she walked into the hidden passage without hesitation. But soon, a heavy iron door blocked her way. The iron door wasn't completely closed, but there was a small window. It looked like a prison cell. That was what she thought when she first saw it. However, she didn't want to open the lock before she was sure what was behind the heavy iron door. After pondering for a moment, Nan Xiaonan immediately returned to the ground. In the dissection room that was filled with various tools and instruments, she actually found a gastroscope probe. Good heavens! Nan Xiaonan immediately used star creation on the gastroscope and brought it back to the basement. Then, she continued to use her star creation technique on the gastroscope. The gastroscope was like a small snake, slowly reaching into the space behind the heavy iron door through the gap of the small window cover. Nan Xiaonan squatted beside it and looked at it attentively. She didn't know what kind of dangers there were. Anyway, the real 11th beginning was lost in the pale blue. However, she had been in the pale blue for a few days, but she still hadn't succeeded in revealing the tip of the iceberg. It seems there's no danger. At this moment, what the camera was looking at wasn't some strange setup. It wasn't a legal laboratory of a medical freak, nor was it some cruel torture chamber. Inside, it was actually a rather normal room. or rather, a living room. In the space of about 30 square meters, there was a bed, a bookshelf, a desk, and even a bathroom. Overall, the environment was surprisingly good. Is this the real medical officer's canon? Miss Nin had no choice but to start imagining things with her rich experience. The condition of this hidden room was so good that it was like heaven for a certain type of otaku. Wait, someone is coming out. Her heart skipped a beat. She saw the bathroom door slowly open, and with a burst of steam, a figure slowly walked out. She couldn't see the full face of the person, but she could see that it was a male figure. Lady Nin couldn't help but open her eyes wide in curiosity. The medical officer was hiding a man in this golden room. Finally, the man who had walked out of the bathroom slowly sat down in front of the desk, and the man's face slowly entered the view of the peeper. Little by little, Nan Xiaonan was finally able to see the full appearance of the other party. Medical officer? Nan Xiaonan abruptly raised her head and subconsciously rubbed her eyes. Then, she continued to stare. After confirming again and again, the man in the hidden room was actually Medical Officer Fawn. At least, it was a man who looked exactly like Medical Officer Fawn. Twins? Or the one inside was the real Medical Officer Old Fawn, and the one outside was a fake? If the person outside was an imposter, then wouldn't she be impersonating an imposter, taking the risk of loneliness? The medical officer in the room didn't know that someone was spying on him. At this moment, he was sitting in front of the desk, concentrating on writing something. As he was writing, he would go to the bookshelf from time to time to look for information. Nan Xiaonan observed for a while outside the door. She didn't choose to contact the guy in the room. Instead, she chose to leave quietly. She was a professional in this field. She didn't make any sound and didn't disturb the person inside until she covered the floor of the autopsy room again. It seems that Old Fong didn't allow people to decorate the room casually. He was afraid that the things in the room would be discovered. She leaned against the operating table and muttered, but she had no clue. That night, no one came to disturb her. Officer Ma too. Zero didn't appear in a hurry to ask for the autopsy report, nor did the young lady from Huiyun City. After Nan Xiaonan had her fun dissecting the corpse, she quietly left the gloomy forensic department and went straight to the parking lot. She found Old Fong's car and drove away calmly. She didn't stop under an overpass until she was far away from the Fire Cloud General Headquarters and opened the trunk of the car. In the trunk, the medical officer's mouth was gagged, his hands and feet were tied, and he was only wearing his underwear. He hadn't woken up yet. Lady Nin rubbed her chin and sized him up. She suddenly stretched out her hands and started to rub the medical officer's face. Well, this face is real, but Nan Xiaonan narrowed her eyes. There are traces of plastic surgery. This person deliberately made himself look like the medical officer. Then, the one imprisoned in the autopsy room might be the real medical officer. Old Fong rubbed his neck and slowly woke up. He yawned and then looked around blankly. At this time, he was sitting in the driver's seat, and the car had actually driven under an overpass at some point. What happened? Old Fong only remembered that after he left the general headquarters and got on the car, he turned on the autopilot mode. Then, he suddenly felt tired and fell asleep. However, the destination of the autopilot mode should be his apartment. A strange feeling made Old Fong feel uneasy. Not long ago, he had been robbed. He was stripped naked and stuffed into the trunk of a car. He regarded it as the greatest humiliation of his life. Am I being targeted? Old Fong shivered, his fingers trembling as he turned on the control panel of the car. He was checking the driving record of the car. However, when he found that there was no problem with the driving record, and even the destination set at the beginning was the current place, he was a little confused. Old Fong thought for a while, and then drove back to the Fire Cloud General Headquarters. At this time, there was a new group of guards. Dr. Fong, why did you suddenly? I have something to do. Old Fong didn't say much. After entering the police station, he went straight to his office. Open the door, lock the door, open the door, lock the door, open the door, lock the door. Finally, after locking the door of the autopsy room, he moved the operating table, lifted the floorboard, and opened the lock to the underground storage room. Finally, he appeared in front of the heavy iron door. He didn't open the iron door, but observed everything in the room through the ventilation window. At this time, the medical officer in the room was still sitting in front of the desk, concentrating on writing something. However, from the corner of his eyes, the medical officer in the room saw a pair of eyes appearing at the window of the ventilation window. He stopped writing and slowly turned his head, meeting the pair of eyes that were peeping at him. The methods doctor in the room frowned and suddenly said, "I said it won't be so fast. You are a little strange today. Your eyes tell me that you seem to be afraid of something. Has no one been here?" Outside the door, old Fong suddenly asked in a low voice. The methods doctor in the room said indifferently, "Someone came." "Who? Who came?" Old Fong's voice suddenly became sharp, and then he said in a low voice, "No, you are lying to me." The methods doctor in the room still said indifferently, "If you think I am lying to you, then I am lying to you. If you think I am not, then I am not. Who knows if someone came or not? Maybe someone really came, and even I didn't notice it. But maybe someone has already found me." "Humph!" Old Fong snorted coldly outside the door. "No one came. This lock is specially made, and it will change every time it is opened. Only I know the order. The order hasn't changed. Don't try to do a psychological war with me. This is the only place where you can live. If so, what are you afraid of?" The methods doctor in the room said indifferently, "What do you have to be afraid of, you shameful imposter?" "No, I am the real one. You are the imposter." Old Fong outside the door gritted his teeth, closing the ventilation window directly, and then hurriedly left the underground storage room. When Old Fong returned to the autopsy room, he was already upset and wanted to leave this place. But the moment he opened the door, Old Fong suddenly stopped. Someone touched the things here. The tools used for autopsy were touched by someone. Old Fong was startled, and with a trace of doubt and nervousness, he slowly walked to the place where the corpses were placed. The owner had placed 2 corpses here. To be specific, it should be a corpse and a skeleton. Gu Yao's corpse, as well as the skeleton that was brought out from somewhere in the periphery of Limitless City, were all placed in a special bag. Old Fong slowly unzipped the bag containing Gu Yao's corpse. When he saw the newly sutured knife marks on the corpse, Old Fong's hands and feet turned cold, and he took 2 steps back in horror. The corpse had been dissected, but the suturing technique was not his at this moment. The light in the autopsy room suddenly flickered. The moment the light flickered, the sterilization light in the autopsy room turned on, and the room turned into a cold fluorescent blue. Old Fong subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. On the operating table beside him, Gu Yao's corpse slowly sat up. Under the purplish-blue light, the body appeared even paler. She moved her legs and slowly walked down from the operating table. Old Fong subconsciously stepped back, but he had nowhere to go. He was pressed against the door. At this moment, Gu Yao held her head with one hand and slowly walked over. In her head, the eye sockets had been gouged out, and like 2 black holes, they were aimed at Old Fong. Old Fong suddenly took a cold breath, and his teeth trembled. Suddenly, Gu Yao raised her arm. She actually slowly opened her palm. Then, she slowly moved her palm to the eye sockets where her eyes had been gouged out. She covered the eye sockets with her hand. Old Fong subconsciously looked at the palm as if he was possessed by a demon. Suddenly, the palm turned over, and the position of the palm was aimed at Old Fong. The muddy eyeball embedded in the palm suddenly appeared in front of Old Fong's eyes. Bang! Old Fong fell to the ground and fainted. After a while, a cloud of gray mist suddenly came out from Gu Yao's body and gathered. Lady Nin blinked, squatting down in front of Old Fong, and slightly slapped him twice, murmuring, "Why are you so timid?" As a forensic doctor, we have seen all kinds of big scenes, so shameful. Shaking her head, Nin Xiaonan put Gu Yao's body back into the box. After apologizing a little, Nan Xiaonan took the unconscious Old Fong to the side and slapped him a few times, waking him up. Old Fong just woke up and saw 2 big eyes in the mist staring at him. Before he could react, he felt his consciousness blurred, and his eyes gradually lost consciousness. "What's your name?" Nan Xiaonan asked directly at this time. "Fong Songyun." Old Fong replied expressionlessly. Nan Xiaonan frowned. I'm talking about your real name. What's your name? Fong Tsongyun. Old Fong replied again. Fong Tsongyun was the name of the medical officer. Nan Xiaonan pondered. If you are Fong Tsongyun, then who is the one locked down below? Old Fong's face showed a slight hint of struggle. Nan Xiaonan saw this and increased the power output to control Old Fong's consciousness again. He is Fong Tsongyun. You, who is the real Fong Tsongyun? Nan Xiaonan asked subconsciously. Old Fong showed a struggling expression again, and this time, the more Nan Xiaonan increased the power output, the more painful Old Fong's face became. Say it. Her eyes glowed with a strange light. Old Fong's brain seemed to have been subjected to a terrible ultrasonic wave, and his 7 orifices were gradually bleeding. Oh, Nan Xiaonan suddenly stopped, and at this time, Old Fong fell to the ground again. She couldn't continue, or this Old Fong's brain would explode. The strength of this fellow's subconscious resistance had even exceeded Nan Xiaonan's expectations. It was as if it wasn't just Old Fong's subconscious that was resisting, there was also another extremely secretive and powerful force that was blocking something. This was already the best result she could achieve with her current ability. Could it be? Nan Xiaonan looked thoughtfully at the direction of the underground storage room. This Old Fong couldn't make it, but there was obviously another Old Fong in the underground storage room. She felt that she had discovered something incredible. Mind control was never the strong point of this demon girl in her subworld. Although when one's mind power reached a certain level, he didn't need to learn and could more or less understand it automatically. But this was really not her strong point. It was okay to affect ordinary people. If people's subconscious resisted, she could only be barbaric and the person's brain would explode. Lady Nin really didn't have the talent in this area. Her potential was probably all in the star creation technique. There were gains and losses, and so on. The heavy iron door of the underground storage room slowly opened. Fong Tsongyun, who was sitting at the desk, looked at the open iron door in surprise. In his memory, the number of times this door had been opened could be counted on one hand. When the door opened, Fong Tsongyun looked at the guy who looked exactly like him, and when he slowly walked in, his eyes couldn't remain calm. You're really strange today. Fong Tsongyun took a deep breath and said, Do you still remember when we met for the first time? The method doctor at the iron gate said slowly, Do you remember when we first met? The tone was like an ordinary conversation. Fong Tsongyun was startled. The doctor's opening words made him feel a little uneasy in his heart. Usually, these words were said when he wanted to kill someone to silence them. Finally, he couldn't help but do it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2394. Although his talent tree was crooked since he was young, he used to be a respectable figure in the void. What's more, the Black Soul body was born with a certain temptation attribute, which could induce the thoughts of the target to a certain extent. Lady Nin appeared in front of the other Fong Tsongyun as the method doctor. She was trying her best to create a strange atmosphere. Sure enough, after the Do you still remember when we first met? Fong Tsongyun in the storage room instantly fell into silence. How could I forget? Finally, Fong Tsongyun slowly opened his mouth, unusually calm. It's like the intersection of time and space. You appeared in front of me, or I appeared in front of you. Until now, I still can't believe it. The method doctor said faintly, Have you ever thought of leaving? Fong Tsongyun looked at him in confusion, and then said indifferently, It's you who wants to go back to that ordinary world. The method doctor thought for a while and said, You know, I can't help it. I can't let you appear so blatantly. You should understand how incredible this is. Lady Nin felt that her speaking skills had already reached the peak. Even if she still didn't know the specific experience between the two, it didn't hinder her from talking about it. Except for the boss who could directly control her state of mind, and the servant girl who didn't need to reason with her, she wasn't afraid of anyone. Fong Tsongyun looked at the other him deeply at this time. You don't have to apologize to me. If it were me, if it were my world, I'm afraid I would do the same thing. The method doctor thought for a while and said, Say it again, what happened before you came? You've asked many times. Fong Songyun couldn't help but frown. The method doctor said indifferently, before the answer is found, it's necessary to repeat it. Fong Songyun slowly sighed. He was a person who pursued the truth, and he was also very good at verifying something over and over again. Concentration and meticulousness. It was because of this character that he could become an excellent medical examiner in his original world. Fong Songyun took a sip of water, adjusted his emotions, and slowly said, "That day, I received a notice that a corpse was found, and I was asked to give an examination report as soon as possible." Nin Xiaonan listened quietly. She did not know the origins of this Fong Songyun, but she was certain that he came from a relatively ordinary subworld. Evidently, there were no transcendence in it. Of course, perhaps there was, but he didn't know. Perhaps there really wasn't, or perhaps it was just beginning to sprout. Fong Songyun was just one of the many people in this subworld whose serial number was unknown. At most, he was an elite in the industry, but obviously he was not in the class that could come into contact with the truth of the world. But Fong Songyun had to endure the teasing of fate, starting from the discovery of a very strange corpse. At that time, Fong Songyun would never have thought that the corpse he came into contact with could not be called a human. It could only be called a human-like creature. At that time, I didn't know what kind of creature it was, but my initial judgment was that the corpse had many parts of a beast. It was like the transformation of a human into a beast, but also like the sudden transformation of a beast into a human. It was like the legendary monster that turned into a human. I've never seen such a corpse before, and I knew at that time that the time I could come into contact with this corpse was extremely limited because the corpse was likely to be taken away by a higher-level department soon. You should understand that feeling. When a new species is placed in front of you, you can't help but want to explore it. It was as if I was possessed. I picked up the scalpel and gently cut open its body. In fact, Fong Songyun's memory of this dissection was quite vague. He seemed to be able to recount it at most. In many places, he even used perhaps, possibly, probably, and so on. When he was dissecting that strange corpse, he might have even been unconscious, but Nin Xiaonan still listened to him without missing a word. "It's a bead." Fong Songyun slowly raised his head at this time. "I found a bead in the abdomen of the corpse, glowing. It was silver, soft on the outside, like it was alive. I subconsciously picked it up and looked at it in a daze. When I came back to my senses, I saw you." Method Doctor thought for a while and said, "During the whole process, did you feel anything special?" Fong Songyun said, "There was a sense of distance, didn't I tell you?" Method Doctor shook his head and said, "I mean other feelings." Fong Songyun could only shake his head. The Method Doctor said, "That bead." Fong Songyun frowned and said, "I've said many times it disappeared. It disappeared from my hands. You lunatic, you really planned to cut open my body to look for it, right?" He was obviously not as calm as he had imagined. Or rather, all of his calmness was a forced act. He had always been afraid. In this strange world where there was another him, but the structure of the entire society was completely different from that of the other him. "Calm down." Method Doctor shouted in a deep voice and even used some spiritual power. Fong Songyun's face instantly paled, and a touch of fear appeared in his eyes. He only felt that the guy in front of him was more terrifying than before. "The corpse," Method Doctor said. "Do you know the cause of death? Even if the body structure is different, the cause of death can probably be seen." Fong Songyun said subconsciously, "There are many wounds on its body, as if it had experienced a terrible battle. A lot of bones were broken, and a lot of cuts. Its chest even completely collapsed. But according to the scene report of the corpse, where the corpse was found, there were no traces of a fight." "How was the corpse found?" "It was said that the corpse first appeared in the yard of the family. According to the family, they suddenly saw a burst of light in the yard, and then the corpse suddenly appeared." Method Doctor nodded, and then suddenly looked at the things on the table. Here, there was a lot of information written by Fong Songyun. It seemed to be a thesis. Fong Songyun frowned and said, I haven't finished writing. When I finish, I'll give it to you. I might not be able to do this kind of research." The knowledge gap between the two worlds is too difficult for me. All right, so old Fong of Azure Blue. Trap Fong Songyun here for this purpose. The subworld civilization Fong Songyun was and might not be more advanced than Pale Blue, or even lower, but Fong Songyun's subworld might have some good points. At this time, the medical officer only showed an ambiguous sneer to end the scene, which made Fong Songyun's hair stand. He gritted his teeth and suddenly said in a low voice, "You can let me leave here. After leaving here, I can change my face and give up my identity as Fong Songyun. I'm no threat to you. I just need the free air. After leaving here, I can still continue to work for you." "How long have you been here?" Method Doctor asked indifferently. 7 years, 4 months, and 3 days. I remember every day. He suppressed his emotions and said. Method Doctor smiled and said, "If you don't want to stay here for another 7 years, then behave yourself. I'll consider your request. After all, I won't stay here forever. There will be a time when I have to leave. If I leave here, I won't let you stay here." These words seemed to ignite new hope in Fong Songyun. He hurriedly said, "I need a new batch of academic materials. Send it to me as soon as possible. I'll find time to send it." He promised first. Nan Xiaonan didn't stay in the basement for long. She returned to the autopsy room with a lot of doubts. Old Fong of Pale Blue hadn't woken up yet. Is the barrier between subworlds so fragile? Can ordinary people break it? She looked at Old Fong of Pale Blue and rubbed her chin. It was not unheard of for people from two subworlds to appear at the same time in the void. In fact, in terms of the huge number of subworlds, there were actually many similar subworlds. Because there were too many such legends, it created the hypothesis of parallel worlds circulating in different subworlds. Most of the theories, such as divinity, visual sense, déjà vu, and so on, came from the interference between the subworlds. But under normal circumstances, the interference between the subworlds would soon be corrected by the will of the subworlds. Two similar people couldn't exist at the same time. This was the basic logic of each subworld. Wait, Nan Xiaonan was startled. Boss said that the will of this subworld disappeared. That was the first day Boss Luo came to Pale Blue. On the first day, Boss Luo had already looked for Araya in the subworld of Pale Blue, but didn't find him. Since she became a Black Soul messenger, Nan Xiaonan almost couldn't feel that the will of the subworld was spying on the intruders. It was as if she had obtained the official pass to all the subworlds. But at the same time, it was hard for her to judge the will of the subworld. There were gains and losses, which was in line with the principle of shop. So, examples similar to Fong Songyun. Nan Xiaonan suddenly thought of something and muttered to herself, "Will there be more in Pale Blue? Or many of them?" While she was thinking, the door lock of the autopsy room moved. The door lock was fixed by Xing Chuang, so any movement could be immediately reflected in her heart. Nan Xiaonan blinked and calmly covered Old Fong in Pale Blue with a white cloth. Then, she picked up a pair of scissors and started to clean it. The door was unlocked, and a figure slowly walked into the dissection room. Nan Xiaonan saw a man in a trench coat. The boss of Tank Bar in Infinite City, Tank. What is going on? The man who pushed open the door of the autopsy room was indeed the boss of Tank Bar Tank. Nan Xiaonan had seen this guy once. It was when he went with Sir Ma 2, Zero and Red Boy to explore Infinite City. But obviously, it wasn't the first time that Tank met Old Fong in Pale Blue. "Why didn't you reply to me?" Tank asked expressionlessly while observing everything in the autopsy room. Method Doctor said calmly, "I had no choice but to send a salted fish here. It's not convenient for me to take my phone with me when I'm working." Tank furrowed his brows. There was some suspicion in his eyes. He glanced at the part of the operating table that was covered with a white cloth. He muttered, "This is the female corpse that was found during the day." "Guyao." Method Doctor shrugged. "Do you want to have a look? I just finished sewing it, so it's not as scary as when I found it. At least you won't lose your appetite." "No need." Tank shook his head and casually took 2 steps forward. "The Heavenly King asked me to pass a message to you." "Heavenly King? The rulers of the upper area of Infinite City?" Good heavens, this old Fong of azure blue is actually related to Infinite City? What message? Why'd he ask you to pass it on? The method doctor also frowned. At the same time, he revealed a suspicious expression and looked at Tank vigilantly. Don't be nervous, Tank said calmly. I came out this time to find someone else. I passed by here, so I came to see you. I didn't plan to come in directly, but you didn't respond. What's the matter? Method doctor didn't deny it. Tank said, the Heavenly King hopes that you can provide some important clues to the Fire Cloud police station so that they can solve these 2 serial murders as soon as possible. Miss Nan's mind turned quickly. She said calmly, Target, this is the material. At this time, Tank slowly took out a photo and a document from his pocket. He placed them on the table and gently knocked on it. Do it secretly this time. After all, this guy leaves traces too easily. It's not in line with his usual style. Nan Xiaonan didn't rush to see the content of the photo. Instead, she frowned. What if the real murderer commits another crime? If it happens again, just say it's a copycat. Tank chuckled. I don't need to think of a reason. After all, you have a lot of experience in this area. Lady Nan didn't say anything this time. Tank suddenly said, by the way, last time, you haven't told me why you followed Old Ma to find me. Lady Nan said, I was caught by the young lady of Fire Cloud City on the spot. Believe it or not, I thought Old Ma discovered your identity as a resident. Tank nodded. It's okay. That's it. I'll wait for your good news. By the way, you need to change the lock here. It's not very secure. I'll let you in, okay? After Tank left, Nan Xiaonan muttered. The infiltration of Limitless City in Fire Cloud City was somewhat beyond her expectations. In other words, the reason why Limitless City's intelligence network was so powerful was precisely because of this pervasive infiltration. In the Fire Cloud City police force, besides Old Fong, how many of them were from Limitless City? So who is this guy? She picked up the photo left by Tank. In the photo, it was a very handsome man. The scanner recorded the photo. Miss Nan made a cup of instant noodles, which she got from Old Fong's snack cabinet. Then, she tapped hard on the keyboard with her big thumb, and the screen showed the information that had been identified. Lu Jiaming, captain of the Serious Crime Division of the East Branch of Fire Cloud City. Then, there was a row of dazzling resume that could be called perfect. While she was looking at Lu Jiaming's resume, she opened the file that Tank had left behind. After skimming through it, she muttered, Good, this is really well arranged. End of this chapter. Chapter 2395. Oh, isn't this Big Lou? The rising star of the Fire Cloud Police Circle. I know him. I have wine. Tell me his story. Dr. Fong, what are you doing here? I have a niece who just graduated recently, and her family is rushing her. The information that could be found in the database was too dazzling, and the oral rumors were more down to earth. The storyteller was a guard who was transferred from the Eastern Branch. She found it in the database. Lu Jiaming, known as Big Lou in Jianghu, has solved several major cases since his debut and has been the champion of Fire Cloud Police Force's fighting competition for several consecutive years. At present, he is the most popular figure in the entire Fire Cloud Police Force's young generation, and he is very likely to become the youngest leader of Fire Cloud Police Force in the coming year. He was handsome, had a clean private life, and had a good reputation. He was the most handsome policeman in the Eastern Branch of Fire Cloud Police Circle, and the record holder of receiving 3,000 love letters in a month. The guard style gradually changed. But, Dr. Fong, if you want to introduce a girl to Big Lou, then forget it. Big Lou has a lover. The information didn't say he was married. They are not married. Big Lou's fiancée was accidentally involved in the operation of the Eastern Branch and was seriously injured. They originally planned to get married, but later the woman needed to recuperate, so it has been delayed until now. I haven't heard any news of them getting married. But Big Lou loves his fiancée very much, and everyone in the Eastern Branch knows that. Do you think I have a chance? Dr. Fong, can you cure me? He left. When Azure Blue, Old Fong woke up, he found himself in a strange place. There were no walls around him, and it was very narrow. His face was wet, and he was obviously awakened by someone who poured water on him. His whole body had been imprisoned, and he couldn't move. Old Fong recalled the scene he saw before he fell into a coma, and couldn't help but feel a chill from the bottom of his heart. However, what happened next left Old Fong at a loss for words. You're out. How could you come out? When a person who looked exactly like him appeared in front of him, the first thing that came to Old Fong's mind was Fong Song-yun, who had been imprisoned in the other world. This was one of the biggest secrets hidden in the bottom of Old Fong's heart. Even Infinite City didn't know about this. Method Doctor, Lady Nan was peeling an apple while looking at Azure Blue, Old Fong with an expressionless face. From time to time, she would reveal a cold smile. Suddenly, she said, "The first time I saw this world at night, it was much more beautiful than I imagined." What do you want? Old Fong forced himself to calm down and said, "Even if you come out, this world is far more dangerous than you think. Without my protection, you can't live for more than 3 days." Nan Xiaonan narrowed her eyes and said, "You mean if it weren't for you, it would have been very easy for us to be exposed to the spies of Infinite City, right?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Azure Blue." Old Fong shook his head. Nan Xiaonan chuckled and said, "Don't worry, you're a resident of Infinite City. The fact that you're a spy of Infinite City in Fire Cloud General Headquarters hasn't been exposed. After all, I'm also you." "Azure Blue." Old Fong's expression changed slightly. Nan Xiaonan said indifferently, "I don't know how the Fire Cloud police force will deal with you if the fact that you're a spy of Infinite City is exposed. I also don't know if Infinite City will punish you if your identity as a spy is exposed. The profession of a traitor is really dangerous." "What do you want?" "Azure Blue." Old Fong said angrily, "You've come out. I can give you a new identity. I haven't touched you for so many years, have I? Now your identity is my identity." Nan Xiaonan sneered and said, "After more than 7 years of imprisonment, it's time for you to have a taste. Don't worry, I'll live well for you." "You can't do this. You can't." "Azure Blue." Old Fong was anxious. "You don't know too many things. You can't become me. Never. Only I know about this place." Nan Xiaonan said indifferently, "If something happens to me, this place will forever be a secret. Don't be curious as to why I can find such a place when I just came out. Do you think I can get out of the dungeon of the dissection room without anyone's help?" She stopped talking here, but it made Azure Blue, Old Fong's expression change again and again. In this simple game, Azure Blue, Old Fong was almost completely defeated. "I'll come again next time." "Wait, don't go." Nan Xiaonan didn't even wait for Azure Blue, Old Fong's reply, and simply left the narrow space with only 4 walls. Azure Blue, Old Fong had a suppressor on him that she had obtained from the Fire Cloud General Headquarters. Therefore, Azure Blue, Old Fong would be very safe here. No one would be able to help him. He would be safe. After leaving the place where Azure Blue, Old Fong was imprisoned, Nan Xiaonan returned to her real body. After a series of operations, it was already past 4 in the morning. She seriously suspected that she would be turned away and sleep on the street if she returned to the shop. Therefore, she decided to go back to the internet cafe and watch some movies with little Gio. She still had to study the information on the document that Tank had given her. On Sunday, in the morning, in the office, Sir 2 was lying on his stomach with his saliva soaking the files on his desk. Suddenly, Sir 2's nose twitched. "This smell is it?" he murmured and suddenly opened his eyes, only to see a shining breakfast in front of him. Beef offal soup. "And it's the super hard to buy Ching's beef mix." Sir 2 was startled and wolfed it down. After finishing the soup, he sighed with satisfaction and lit a cigarette, squinting his eyes. "How do you know I like beef offal soup?" He looked at the little Luo in front of him. "It's a coincidence." Little Luo smiled. "I bought it on the way. I guess you haven't eaten yet." One obedient newcomer. A new day became beautiful because of this bowl of beef offal noodles. Officer 2 thought for a while and said, "I heard Shimin asked you to send Mississippi Red Boy away yesterday. Did anything happen?" "No." Sir 2 nodded and didn't ask further. He wanted to ask why the little Luo didn't come back after sending Miss Red Boy away, but he didn't want to ask. Because of the beef, awful soup? Oh, what's the time? Sir Ma 2. Zero asked casually. 9:30. Let's go to old Fong's office. Sir Ma 2. Zero hurriedly stood up. We need to rush the autopsy report. Let me tell you, if you don't lock old Fong in the autopsy room and put a knife to his neck, he will delay the investigation until the next century. They greeted each other on the way and soon arrived at the medical examiner's office. When Sir Ma 2. Zero was about to knock on the door was opened and a dog head smiled at him. Old Ma was startled. Old Fong, who opened the door, bowed and said, "Please come in. You want the autopsy report, right? It's ready, old Ma." Oh, Sir Ma 2. Zero blinked and glanced at little Luo. What did I say? This guy is procrastinating. Isn't this a slap to my face? Thanks, Officer Ma 2. Zero subconsciously reached out to take it, but he saw old Fong pass the teacup to Luo, Xiao Luo. It was embarrassing for him. Ahem. Sir Ma 2. Zero coughed and opened the autopsy report, pretending that he had finished reading it. Old Fong, did you find anything new about Gu Yao's body? The method doctor said, Gu Yao's sewing technique is the same as Wang Badan's sewing technique, but she's a little more skilled. Also, judging from the position of the heart that was removed, there's a high possibility that they're the same murderer. The real cause of death was her throat crushed? Sir Ma 2. Zero read the report carefully. That's right. The murderer crushed her throat before cutting off Gu Yao's head. Method doctor said, we found traces of being tied up on the victim's limbs. According to the layout of the murder scene, the victim struggled violently before she died. She seemed to be having a lot of fun. Her lower body was slightly torn. Sir Ma 2. Zero said, can we get the body fluids of the murderer? We can. Method doctor shook his head, but we can only find a hairstylist you brought back yesterday. There's no murderer. The murderer was probably just abusing her. Wang Badan's body didn't. Sir Ma 2. Zero thought and turned to another page. His eyes lit up. Old Fong, it says here that there's a slight extract of Yalinki benphins in the victim's body. What's that? It's Shura's tear. Method doctor said slowly. It's a highly potent neurotoxin that's almost extinct. The record of using it on Shura's tear is Jade Lake Heavenly Palace. Sir Ma 2. Zero blurted out, it's that thing. His face turned solemn. Little Luo glanced at Method Doctor and saw that Method Doctor also winked at him with an apologetic look. Officer Ma, what's Jade Lake Heavenly Palace? Little Luo played along. Sir Ma 2. Zero said in a deep voice, it's a very nasty poison that appeared in Dark Blue a few years ago. Because of its bad influence, even Kunlun was alarmed. Later on, they launched a large-scale operation in Dark Blue and finally destroyed the factory that made the Jade Lake Heavenly Palace. I remember there was a batch of valuable Jade Lake Heavenly Palace in Fire Cloud City, and one of the factory strongholds was destroyed. Sir Ma 2. Zero stood up and paced back and forth. All the Jade Lake Heavenly Palaces should have been destroyed. How could they still appear? Maybe it was made recently. The medical officer continued. Sir Ma 2. Zero thought for a while and said, Shura's tear has strict requirements on the plantation. The Shura's tear is as precious as a 1,000-year-old elixir. The South Sky Gate of Kunlun was involved in the destruction of the factory and the destruction of the Jade Lake Heavenly Palace. All the Jade Lake Heavenly Palaces in Fire Cloud City were recorded, but I'm not sure if there were any mistakes in the process. The method doctor suddenly said, I also found the same type of Azura's tear on Wang Badan. Why didn't you say so before? Sir Ma 2. Zero was stunned. Method doctor shrugged and said, I have 7 test reports and 5 bacterial culture reports. Can you come back in 7 days? Sir Ma 2. Zero coughed awkwardly and said, I suddenly thought of someone. Who? Delu. Sir Ma 2. Zero said seriously. Delu was the one who destroyed the stronghold in Fire Cloud City. He was also the one who created the Jade Lake Heavenly Palace. He was promoted to the youngest captain of East Branch because of that contribution. Method Doctor said with a face of shocked. Don't tell me you're suspecting him? Sir Ma 2. Zero said grumpily. The Jade Lake Heavenly Palace is a taboo. The Lu has a bright future ahead of him. Besides, he has nothing to do with the victims of the two murders. I'm just curious that the Jade Lake Heavenly Palace reappeared. Wait, I'm going to make a call. Sir Matu. Zero hurriedly pushed open the door and walked out. Method Doctor blinked and looked at Officer Luo embarrassedly. Shall I get you another cup? Don't you want to explain? Little Luo said casually. Lady Nan. Limitless City? Little Luo was holding the document that Tank gave to old Fong. Delu's photo was on it. At this time, Nan Xiaonan nodded and said, the development of this matter is a bit out of our expectations. I didn't expect Fong Tsongyin to be a spy in the Limitless City. However, compared to this matter, the other Fong Tsongyin locked up below is more important. Little Luo looked at the ground and suddenly asked, why do you think he's more important? Nan Xiaonan said subconsciously, Boss, there shouldn't be two identical souls in the same subworld. This is the basic logic of the subworld. Doesn't this prove that there's something wrong with the basic logic of the subworld? Our purpose in coming to Azure Blue this time is related to Senior 11. Perhaps these two matters are related. Little Luo thought for a while and said, what are you going to do next? Nan Xiaonan said subconsciously, I think we can continue to investigate Fong Tsongyin. Little Luo nodded and said, do you have enough time? Nan Xiaonan said, Old Fong of Azure Blue has been imprisoned. I'm Old Fong of Azure Blue now. The tanks in Infinite City shouldn't suspect me. There's no hurry. Boss, don't worry. Lady Nan is really capable. Little Luo blinked and said, I'm relieved. Don't be late to school. What the F*** CK? You can split me in half. Little Luo moved his finger and really split Nan Xiaonan in half. Nan Xiaonan 1 and Nan Xiaonan 2. Lady Nan was dumbfounded. Splitting her in half was not a problem. The problem was which one should go to school and which one should stay in Fire Cloud General Headquarters. You go to school. 2. End of chapter. Chapter 2396. For the sake of fairness, Nan Xiaonan 1 and Nan Xiaonan 2 reached an agreement that they would take turns every half a week. Because it was already Sunday, no matter if it was 1 or 2, they were very polite. It could be said that Kong Rong was a model example of giving way to pairs. Finally, Nan Xiaonan 1 went back to prepare for her lesson. Young Miss Nan 2, on the other hand, stayed behind with a dead expression on her face. Boss, it seems that Limitless City intends to direct the spearhead to the Lu. Lady Nan 2 instantly became the medical officer and said, Limitless City want to pull the Lu down? What do they want to do? Did the Lu offend Limitless City? Or did he block something from Limitless City? Little Luo officer said casually, let's follow Limitless City's plan and get it done. Lady Nan 2 was stunned. Boss, do you mean we should follow Limitless City's plan? Little Luo officer said, if the person who got the information last night was the real Fong Tsongyin of Kanglin, would he do it? Lady Nan 2 paused and then nodded. She understood what Boss Luo meant. Even if she wasn't Fong Tsongyin, Limitless City's plan to frame the Lu would still happen. Limitless City isn't simple. Lady Nan 2 thought for a while and said, it's only been 2 or 3 days since the murder, but they made a plan so quickly and prepared so many things. They're very decisive. Actually, Limitless City's plan had been made since she mentioned Surest here to Sir Ma 2. At this moment, Sir Ma 2 came back and said, Little Luo, follow me to the detention center. Little Luo officer thought for a while and said, Sang Kun. Officer Ma 2. Zero showed a gratified expression. That's right. On the helicopter yesterday, Sang Kun confessed because Sun Ming was there. But it might not be enough. I need to confirm something. Miss Nin 2. The medical officer said calmly, go ahead. Old Ma, I want to check the skeleton you brought back from the Limitless City carefully. This case is getting weirder and weirder. Sir Ma 2 sighed. The murderer is still confused. I hope there won't be any new victims. Under the blue sky and white clouds, a fiery cloud flashed across the sky. The only custom-made, super-heavy motorcycle, reverse 5 elements, landed in a small town. Suehua Town was a town under Fiery Cloud City. It was at the edge of Fiery Cloud City. After passing Verdant Mountain, entered the territory of Shirtawa City. Suehua Town was a simple town. The landing of reverse 5 elements caused a lot of commotion. Moreover, an old police car drove out of Suehua Town and stopped in front of the reverse 5 elements at the fastest speed. At this time, a white-haired, skinny police officer and a young policewoman got out of the police car. Although it was the police station of Suehua Town, there were only 5 people in the station, and one of them was a gatekeeper. Old he, who is this man? Not only did he exceed the speed limit, but he also made such a big fuss. The young policewoman frowned and asked. Oldie was the sheriff of Suehua Town and the highest-ranking officer in the Suehua police station. It was good enough for such a small place to have a sheriff, especially one who was elected by the local residents. Sure, don't talk nonsense later. Don't mention something as trivial as speeding. Even if you tear down Suehua Town, she won't cause any trouble. Oldie lowered his voice and said seriously, "This is the miss of Flaming Cloud City." The young policewoman was stunned. She was born and raised here. When she grew up, she joined the local police station. In her limited life, she had never left this mountainous area. Fiery Cloud City seemed to be an unreachable place for her and an unreachable person. The young policewoman couldn't help but stick out her tongue. I heard that the Bossa Flat Sky Group has 8 arms and 10 eyes. Does Bull Demon King's daughter also have 8 arms and 10 eyes? Oldie knocked on the young policewoman's head. At this moment, a slim woman got off reverse 5 elements. When she took off her helmet, she looked so cool that the young policewoman couldn't help but rub her eyes. She seemed to feel the greatest evil in the world, the unfairness between people. "You are Old He, the sheriff of Suehua Town." Red Child walked over directly. She wasn't overbearing, but she was born with a poker face, cold as ice. "Yes, I am." Uncle Ho quickly nodded. "I heard that you're coming here. My superiors have already informed me. Is there anything I can help you with?" Red Child said directly, "I'm here to find a person. His name is Gao Yang. This is the place where he was born, so there should be records of him. May I ask who Mr. Gao Yang is?" Old He asked cautiously. Red Child glanced at Old He indifferently and said nothing. Old He quickly said, "If you want to find someone, the household registration records are in our station. If it's convenient, please come with me, Miss Red Child." "Let's go, don't waste time," Red Child said indifferently. "I have to rush back to Fiery Cloud City tonight." She rushed over from Huiyun City overnight without informing anyone. She didn't even inform Officer Ma, who was part of the homicide investigation team. Gao Yang's information in Fiery Cloud High School was missing. The information about Gao Gao and Fiery Cloud City's household registration system was very limited, so Red Child had the idea of going to Gao Yang's birthplace. After all, according to the household registration records, Gao Yang lived in Suehua Town for the first 20 years. As for whether she could find anything, she didn't have the confidence. It was just her intuition. As for whether there would be a problem if she left Fiery Cloud City without permission, there would be no problem. If she guessed correctly, there were at least 2 hidden forces in the sky above Suehua Town at this time. Needless to say, one must be from the Flat Sky Group, and the other was probably from her mother's side. She couldn't get rid of the spies her parents gave her. After all, her strength didn't allow her to do so, so she could only ignore them. In fact, from another point of view, if she couldn't accept being monitored at all times, she wouldn't have the freedom to walk freely in Fiery Cloud City. "Miss Red Child, this way, please." 10 hours, a full 10 hours, a whole night. Wang Jufu was frowning at this time. He even paced anxiously. He had returned to his house and told Wang Baiwan about his wife's disappearance at the station. He had asked people to look around, but there was still no news of Mrs. Wang's whereabouts. Her mental state is very unstable now. It's really worrying. Wang Baiwan couldn't help sighing. "Don't worry. Little Snow's cultivation is not weak. Ordinary little thieves can't get close to her." Wang Jufu comforted him. This was more like self-comfort. "It's because Little Snow's cultivation is not weak that I am worried." Wang Baiwan rubbed his eyebrows and said, "You saw it yesterday. Little Snow already wanted to kill Miss Red Child. I was afraid that she would do something stupid, so I asked you to send her away overnight. You can't even keep an eye on your own wife. Tell me, Apart from the surname Wang, what else do you look like me? Wang Jufu said, the protection around Miss Redchild is very strong. Even little Snow can't get close to her easily. Wang Baiwan said angrily, when you want to kill a person, you will tell the other party that I want to kill you. I'm going to do it now. Do you think you could just watch? Don't forget, with the relationship between Miss Redchild and Badan, she won't guard against little Snow at all. This, Wang Jufu said worriedly, Dad, why don't we discuss it with the rich aunt? That's the only way. Wang Baiwan sighed. This matter, if it's not handled properly, maybe even your aunt can't handle it. Our Wang family has been living well for many years under the protection of Mayor Tai. Huiyun, there are too many people eyeing our position. In any case, we must find little Snow before it causes a disaster. Wang Lu, go and prepare the car for me. Yes, master. The sound of panting sounded in the narrow corridor. He ran up the stairs as if his life depended on it. However, no matter how fast he ran, he could never reach the end of the stairs. Scum, where are you going? Behind him, there was a resentful roar. He didn't dare to look back. He knew who was behind him, so he had to run up even more desperately. Who can help me? You go. Just like that day, go. Isn't this what you're best at? Using the student as a cushion, stepping on the soles of your feet in exchange for a chance to escape. Scum, you keep running. The wrong stairs instantly turned into a flat surface. His whole body fell on the flat surface. He had to see what was behind him. It was like a huge spider quickly crawling towards him. Scum dash, scum dash, scum dash. Human, beep beep, beep beep, beep beep dash. At the windowsill cabinet, the mobile phone was ringing crazily. Teacher Xiao Hu opened his eyes slightly. He subconsciously picked up the pillow and covered his head with force. Suddenly, he got up fiercely. He had an appointment with Tong Xin today for the advertisement audition. He might be able to get a generous reward if he could pass today's audition. He couldn't miss today's audition. After hurriedly dressing up, Teacher Xiao Hu quickly walked out of the room and saw a small bag of buns on the table. He touched the bun and felt that it was still warm. Under the bag was a piece of paper with two simple words written on it, breakfast. Teacher Xiao Hu was startled. He walked to the door of the other room and knocked. Gao Yang, Gao Yang. Are you back? There was no response. Teacher Xiao Hu subconsciously put his ear to it. Don't disturb me. I just came back from an all-nighter. I'll die if I don't sleep now. A voice came. I bought the buns on the road. If you don't want to eat, I'll make dinner. Good night. Don't forget about this month's utility bill. Teacher Xiao Hu knocked again, but this time there was no response. Teacher Xiao Hu shook his head. He picked up the bun and rushed out of the door. Today's audition place was quite a distance away from his rented apartment. As a product manager, Child's Heart was a professional. She didn't work hard with her body, but she did work hard with her body. She came to work earlier than anyone else and left work later than anyone else. She was the type who was prettier and more hardworking than anyone else. On the set, Child's Heart's busy figure could be seen everywhere. There was still more than an hour before the audition, but Child's Heart had already gone back and forth 3 times. Sister, I'll put this box of things here. Why are you moving things? Child's Heart had to stop what she was doing and frowned. I only agreed to let you watch the audition, but I didn't say that I would hire you as a temporary worker. Even if you volunteer to help, I won't pay you an hourly wage. She really didn't know what to do with this cousin of hers. Xiao Lily was like throwing money into her eyes. No need. At this time, Xiao Lily said with a smile, I bought a batch of fast food from the fast food restaurant downstairs. When you get busy later, you definitely won't have time to eat. When the time comes, you can buy it from me. Child's Heart sighed and looked at Xiao Lily helplessly. This girl's idol wasn't the handsome and popular male star of Azure Blue, nor was it Gao Zhan of the High School Alliance All-Star competition. It was Niu Dagwang. Xiao Lily even had posters of Niu Dagwang in her room. Child's Heart didn't know where to start complaining about this. Original price. Child's Heart said angrily, sell it or not. I won't let you lose money at most. Are you still my sister? Xiao Lily stared at her with her big eyes in disbelief. Child's Heart crossed her arms and said, Anyway, you definitely have a way to get the goods at a cheaper price. I can only give you the original price. If you can't make a profit, it's your fault. Okay, it's settled. Okay. Xiao Lily was disappointed for a while before she recovered and said casually, Sister, is the model you mentioned not here yet? The appointment is at 10:30. It's still early. Why are you in such a hurry? Xiao Lily said, Isn't that what you said? He is a teacher of Fiery Cloud High School. I'm curious. You haven't told me who he is. Xiao Lily knew that her cousin had very high standards, and ordinary people wouldn't enter her sight. However, in Xiao Lily's perspective, there were only a few people in Fiery Cloud Heights who could enter her cousin's eyes. The new school Dr. Luo was very good and probably fit the bill. Unfortunately, she wasn't familiar with him. Otherwise, she could earn a lot of money from the introduction fee. Apart from that, Teacher Ching, who should be able to do it as well. After all, he had been the most popular male teacher for 3 consecutive years. Apart from that, most of the male teachers in Fire Cloud High School were muscular men. Otherwise, they were old and relied on their experience to make a living. His name is... Hey, he's here so early. Child's Heart's eyes lit up and looked at the entrance. Xiao Lily followed her gaze. The girl's beautiful big eyes were filled with question marks. Teacher Xiao who? Isn't he? Bitchley? Yes, it's him. Teacher Li Jianren. Chapter 2397. Mr. Li, I didn't expect you to come so early. I'm not ready yet. Sorry. Please wait here for a moment. Tong Xin led Teacher Xiao Hu to the side and sat down. It doesn't matter. I live a bit far from here. I was afraid of being delayed on the way here, so I left early. Teacher Xiao Hu showed a decent smile. He had practiced this smile many times on the way here. This was probably the most natural smile he could have. Delay? Why are you delayed? Tong Xin blinked her eyes curiously. Xiao Hu shook his head. He couldn't look at her anymore. He found that he had no resistance to a beauty in a skirt. Nothing special, but it's hard to say if it's an accident. Teacher Xiao Hu stammered, Oh, right. Who's that? Actually, from the start, Teacher Xiao Hu had felt a strange gaze on him. He looked over and saw a girl wearing a baseball cap and sportswear. She didn't look very old. She's my younger sister. She's also visiting today. Tong Xin smiled. Lily, why don't you come over? Xiao Lily suddenly pulled Tong Xin over and shouted, Oh, sister, I don't know if I ate something wrong this morning. Where's the washroom? Take me there. This. Hey, don't pull me. Tong Xin had no choice but to turn back. That. Teacher Li, I'll deal with it first. Okay, what are you doing? She knew that Xiao Lily didn't really have a stomachache. Xiao Lily frowned. Sister, do you really want this person to be your new product's advertising model? Huh? Tong Xin frowned and thought for a while. What do you mean? Why? Is there something wrong with Teacher Li? He didn't recognize you just now. Is it possible that he's not a teacher of Huiyin High? Xiao Lily said unhappily. It's normal that he can't recognize us. After all, we often go to the extraterrestrial battlefield and come back with a swollen face. If we don't call him, we won't recognize him. Sister, he's a teacher of our school, but I'm afraid he's not the kind of teacher you think he is. He's just a sparring teacher of the lowest level. Sparring partner? Tong Xin opened his mouth subconsciously. Xiao Lily shrugged and said, To put it simply, he's a human sandbag for the students to practice. Also, he's actually not that popular in school. I think you're going to end up being a model for your product. Tong Xin muttered, You beat him. I mean, have you ever attended Mr. Li's class? Xiao Lily said, He's in charge of sparring with the seniors. As for me, I should be able to beat him up as soon as next year. Unexpectedly, Tong Xin suddenly knocked on her head. At this moment, his elder sister put her hands on her hips and said with a straight face, You have to treat your teachers with reverence. What's wrong with a sparring teacher? Without a sparring teacher, do you as students know how much you have mastered? Don't look down on those who contribute silently. But sis, that's enough. Tong Xin shook his head. No matter what, he's here. I'm the one who invited him to this audition. I won't call him away just because he's a sparring teacher. Whether he can be on camera or not is one thing, but we can't do things without sincerity. Understand? At the very least, I want him to complete this audition. Okay. Xiao Lily reluctantly nodded. Actually, She didn't want to dampen Tong Xian's mood. This cousin was one of the few people she had met in this world who was as honest as she appeared to be. Tong Xian continued with her work. Xiao Lily, on the other hand, found an opportunity to sneak to teacher Xiao Hu's side and sit down. Mr. Xiao Hu. Teacher Xiao Hu, who was reading the script that Tong Xian gave him, froze. He subconsciously looked over and said hesitantly, "I'm studying in Fire Cloud High School. I'm in a first-grade group combat class." Xiao Lily said expressionlessly. Mr. Xiao Hu opened his mouth. His hand holding the script couldn't help but tighten a little, but it was only for a moment. Instantly, his hand loosened. Mr. Xiao Hu smiled bitterly. "I understand. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." "What are you going to do?" Xiao Lily asked curiously. Mr. Xiao Hu said, "I'll tell your sister to give up this audition. Something happened at home, not feeling well, etc. There will always be an excuse." "There will always be an excuse." Xiao Lily narrowed her eyes. "Just like how you found an excuse on the battlefield. Sorry to bother you." Mr. Xiao Hu stood up. "Tell your sister that I have something to do and have to leave." He put the script on the chair and walked straight out the door. No reluctance? Li Jianren's decision surprised Xiao Lily. She even thought that he would be angry and embarrassed. However, Xiao Lily could feel a trace of reluctance in Li Jianren's eyes. She glanced at the script that was left behind. There were still clear wrinkles on it. She couldn't help but sigh. When he walked out of the building, Mr. Xiao Hu looked up at the sky and felt a little dizzy, probably because the sun was too bright. He let out a long sigh and walked listlessly. "Hey!" Someone called out to him. It was the voice of the girl from before. Teacher Little, who subconsciously turned around and saw Xiao Lily walking quickly towards him. "Why are you? If you stand my sister up now, what will she do?" Xiao Lily rolled her eyes. "Do you know how much work she did for the new product? If you don't pass the audition, it's fine, but you suddenly left. Don't you need money for today's venue and manpower? Are you going to pay for it?" "But my sister doesn't know about you." Xiao Lily whispered. "I'm just saying that you're not very popular in school. I didn't add salt or vinegar. It's a fact that you're not popular. I just entered school last year. They said that I didn't see what you did, so I won't comment, that's all." Mr. Xiao Hu didn't say anything. Xiao Lily suddenly slapped the script on him. "That's all I have to say. It's up to you to decide if you want to go up or not. I'm not helping you. I just don't want to make things difficult for my sister. Also, remember, you're only here for the audition. You have nothing to do with my sister. Understand?" "I understand." Mr. Xiao Hu nodded and said seriously, "I'll go up and finish the audition." Xiao Lily shrugged and said indifferently, "You go in first, so that my sister won't think I said something to you if she sees me with you. You're very careful." Mr. Xiao Hu couldn't help but say, "You don't look like a little girl at all." "I'm not in good health," little Lily said indifferently. "I started school a few years late. I'm not as little as you think I am. Let's go. Let's finish the audition and leave." Mr. Xiao Hu nodded silently. He didn't know why, but he suddenly wanted to finish the audition and finish it successfully. This was like an unusually strong desire. He took a deep breath and then forcefully wiped his face. It was as if a mysterious force was gushing out of his body. "Let's go," Li Jianren said indifferently. Xiao Lily looked at him in surprise. As she watched him walk into the building, the sunlight seemed to pierce her eyes, making her a little dazzled. "He seems to be confident, as if he's a different person." Xiao Lily's eyes flashed with a touch of doubt. How could it be? Li Jianren, Mr. Xiao Hu, the guy who was bullied to tears in Fire Cloud High School. But I feel that he doesn't know about Badan. The town, in an old street, a police car stopped in front of an abandoned building. 3 people got out of the car. 14-2. It's here. Uncle Ho looked at the address and turned back. "Miss Red Child, this is where Gao Yang used to live. What happened here?" Red Child frowned. The house in front of her was not only abandoned, but also damaged. The outer wall had obvious burn marks. As for the windows, many places were broken, and the courtyard walls were overgrown with weeds. "I know this," the policewoman hurriedly said. "A few years ago, several refugees lived here quietly. Later, the house accidentally caught fire and burned to this state. It's written in the case file." "Refugees?" Red Child frowned. Old Ho explained, it's like this. After crossing Suihua town, you'll be in the territory of Shirtuwa City. In recent years, the political situation of Shirtuwa City has not been very stable. It's chaotic, so there will be some people running here to hide. Usually, we will directly repatriate them after we find them. The house burned to this state. Didn't Gao Yang come back? Red Child asked directly. The policewoman said, we tried to contact the owner, but we couldn't get in touch with him. After a long time, we lost contact. As for whether he came back secretly, we don't know. I'll go in and take a look. Red Child walked over directly. Uncle Ho nodded and wanted to push open the iron gate in front of the courtyard, but Red Child kicked it open. Next was the front door of the house, which was also kicked open. In the past, the fire had burned almost everything in the house to ashes. Uncle Ho and the policewoman found 2 pieces of wood and picked them all along the way, but they didn't find anything useful. After a while, Red Child came down from upstairs with a photo frame in her hand. It was a group photo, a young man and a middle-aged woman with a haggard face. Red Child pointed to the woman in the photo and said, who is this to Gao Yang? His mother? The policewoman said, it should be his mother. Gao Yang is currently a native of Suihua town. He went out to work when he was young. But when Gao Yang was 5 years old, his mother took him back to Suihua town to settle down. What about his father? I don't know. The policewoman shook her head. Gao Yang also followed his mother's surname. His mother's name is Gao Tsulan. What about Gao Tsulan? Red Child asked. The policewoman was already prepared. I checked the internet. The last place Gao Tsulan registered to work was a company called Fire King in Huiyun City, but that was almost 30 years ago. I don't know if this company is still there. Fire King? Red Child's eyes narrowed slightly, staring at the policewoman. Are you sure it's really Fire King? The Huiyun police station's internet is like this, probably? How could it be Fire King? Red Child muttered, frowning, and walked out of the house. Sheriff, did I say something wrong? The policewoman couldn't help but look at Uncle Ho nervously and ask curiously, is there anything special about this Fire King company? Uncle Ho thought for a while and said, it happened many years ago. Of course, you young people don't know. The Fire King Corporation was the real giant of Huiyun City back then. Later on, the Flat Sky Corporation rose, and the Fire King gradually withdrew from the stage. I heard that the Fire King boss not only went crazy in the end, but also jumped to his death. Who? Red Child's cold shout suddenly came from outside the house. When Old Ho and the policewoman ran out in a hurry, they saw that Red Boy had already blocked off an old man. The young mistress of Flaming Cloud City didn't make a move, but the old man seemed to be frightened as he looked around at a loss. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Uncle Ho quickly stepped forward and said, this is an old man in the town. His family lives nearby. He runs a breakfast shop. Misunderstanding. He's hiding outside sneakily, Red Child said indifferently. Uncle Ho looked at the old man and said, Old Zhao, what's the matter with you? Hearing that, the old man said, I saw your car parked at Suilan's house. I thought something happened, so I came to see. Why, what happened here? You know Gao Suilan's family? Red Child frowned slightly. Old Zhao subconsciously looked at Old He. Seeing Old He give him a look, he nodded and said slowly, Suilan's family lives here. We've been neighbors for decades. How should I put it? I watched Suilan grow up. Between neighbors, don't you think we're close? What about Gao Yang? Do you know him? Gao Yang. Old Zhao was stunned, then shook his head and said, it's fine if he doesn't say it. Back then, Suilan was terminally ill, but he didn't even bring her back for a look. Poor Suilan raised her son alone. She died alone. It was us outsiders who helped bury him. What about Gao Suilan's husband? Red Child said, have you heard her mention it? Old Zhao said, Suilan never talks about these things. We don't know much. We only vaguely heard her say that her husband is no longer around. He probably died a long time ago, so she brought her son back to her hometown. If you want to find Gao Yang, it's probably difficult to find him. This guy almost cut off all his family ties. Red Child slowly sighed, but wrote down a phone number. Uncle, I'm sorry for scaring you just now. This is my contact number. If you see Gao Yang come back during this time, please contact me immediately. I will reward you. Apart from that, if you recall anything regarding Gao Zuolan's family, you can also contact me. Old Zhao, save the number for the sake of the reward. Speaking of which, I do recall something. I remember that once, Gao Yang and Zuolan must have quarreled. It was late at night, and it was raining. The child walked all the way out, saying that he was going to find his elder brother. Elder brother? I don't know either. Old Zhao shook his head. It was many years ago. It was raining heavily, so I didn't hear it clearly. He still has an elder brother. Flaming Cloud City, Flaming Cloud, General Headquarters Detention Center. The cell's metal door slowly opened. In the cell, Sang Kun was not only wearing layers of suppressors, but he was also wearing restraints. His mouth was also covered with a steel mask, and his eyes were filled with ferocity. The suspects in the same cell were obediently huddled in a corner. Some were even kneeling while facing the wall. Only Sang Kun sat firmly in the middle, accompanied by the nine-striped dragon. At this moment, when he saw that it was Surma, too, Zero who came in, Sang Kun directly sneered. Then little Luo Sir came in. Sang Kun's smile gradually disappeared. The nine-striped dragon also huddled in a corner. Chapter 2398. Interrogation. This time, Officer Ma only called out Sang Kun and threw Nine-Tattoo Dragon aside. After they left the cell returned to its original state. Those who were supposed to sit sat, those who were supposed to kneel, and finally, it was Nine-Tattoo Dragon's turn to be the fiercest. This was because he had the most tattoos on his body. He really had 9 flying dragons tattooed on him. Are you scared? In the interrogation room, Sang Kun was vigilantly sizing up the unbelievably ferocious guy from yesterday. Little Luo was sitting beside Officer Ma like a foil, but Sang Kun didn't dare to relax at all. If it were the day before yesterday, he would not have believed that he would be beaten up by a single punch. He was, after all, a reputable person on the Huiyun City's blacklist. He had fought his way up from a small fry. The first half of his life as a leader was also a bloody path. He couldn't compare to Limitless City. As Thunder Emperor, he couldn't withstand Flat Sky, his influence, and when he saw Fire Cloud's Iron Rakshasa, he had to take a detour. But as a street overlord, Sang Kun was serious. But when did Huiyun Police Station cultivate such a terrifying new police officer? You're back. Surma 2. Zero patted the table. Don't be in a daze. I have something to ask you. Sang Kun sighed, saying calmly. Officer Ma, what else do you want to ask? I've already told you everything that needs to be said. The few people in the Eastern District branch all have shares in the businesses I do in the Eastern District, including that rising star, Delu. He also took my red packet. If you don't believe me, you can go and investigate. Why are you still looking for me? Officer Ma said indifferently. Do you know that with your attitude, the presiding judge will not believe your slander in court? What false accusation? Sang Kun sneered. There isn't a single person in the East Branch who is clean. You can investigate if you want. But I'll say this first. If you want to investigate, do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't get any evidence. Sir Ma said, I'm interrogating you today to ask you something else. Sang Kun frowned. Officer Ma, the most you can do is sue me for illegally holding an underground boxing competition and arresting me. Don't pin the blame on me for other things. You've arrested me this time, but I was clean when I was under Fire Cloud. Yesterday on the helicopter, you personally admitted that you caused a car accident that killed one person on the spot. That's because Mr. Sun was there. Sang Kun shrugged and said, I said that because I was threatened. If we go to court, I will still say that I was threatened. Sir Ma didn't take it seriously and said calmly, Sang Kun, let me tell you, we're not only going to accuse you of illegal underground boxing and arrest, we're also going to accuse you of illegally possessing a large amount of first-class contraband. I don't know what you're talking about, Sang Kun shrugged. From now on, I have nothing to say before the court. You probably don't know. Sir Ma chuckled. Just last night, the people in the East Branch found a ton of high-purity ice stone powder in the mezzanine under the arena where you held the boxing match. A ton. Do you know what it means? Sang Kun's face turned pale. Sir Ma said calmly, in dark blue. As long as you have more than 100 grams of ice stone powder, you can be sentenced to ton. Think about how you're going to be sentenced, but you don't have to calculate it, including the evidence provided by the East Branch and the evidence of you selling ice stone powder. You'll be in jail for life. A ton? Impossible. Sang Kuin sneered. Is scaring people so cheap these days? Sirma didn't waste time. He took out his phone and put it in front of Sang Kuin. A live news report video played slowly. At 2 o'clock in the morning, the East Branch found a ton of first-class contraband in Unit B7 of the Felix Industrial Building. Sang Kuin's eyes widened. In the past, when he watched the news, he would only look at the breasts of the female anchors. But this time, all his attention was attracted by the subtitles. Now, the person standing in front of me is the commander of this operation, Officer Liu of the East Branch. Officer Liu, do you have anything to say to the citizens about this operation? Sang Kuin was already clenching his teeth tightly. I've been working hard to maintain the security of Firecloud City, and I won't allow criminals to run rampant in Firecloud City. In the camera, Liu Jiaming was calm and magnanimous when facing the light. He spoke with conviction. Regarding this operation, our East District will hold a press conference in the future. We will give a detailed report to you and the citizens of Flaming Cloud City. Seeing that Sang Kuin was staring at his phone, Sirma put down the video and quickly took the phone back. As expected, Sang Kuin smashed his head on the table. Fortunately, I'm fast. Sirma too. Zero muttered. Liu, Jian, Ming, you tricked me. That's why I said that no matter what you say, the presiding judge might not believe you. He might not even believe you. Sirma moved closer. You're right. They'll destroy everything that's harmful to them, including you. Now, do you still want to talk to them about morality? Sang Kuin gritted his teeth. It wasn't that he had never been to court before. On the contrary, he was a frequent visitor. It was just that he managed to escape every time. That batch of goods isn't mine. Sang Kuin clenched his teeth. I've never been involved in the business of ice stone powder. You know, the contraband business in Firecloud City has always been monopolized by Limitless City. Even if others want to get involved, they have to consider the existence of Thunder Emperor. Other dismantlers only get their goods from Limitless City. I've never heard of a ton of ice stone powder. You didn't cooperate with the Liu for this batch of goods? Sirma frowned. Sang Kuin said in a low voice, I've already said that I've never done this kind of business. Although people say that I'll do anything as long as I'm paid, that's because I know that I can get away with whatever I do. That's all. Then where did this batch of goods come from? Sang Kuin said, I don't know the details, but it must be from Limitless City. Only Limitless City can transport such a large batch of goods. In fact, you should know that since the Jade Lake Immortal Palace incident a few years ago, Pale Blue has been cracking down on contraband. In recent years, those who do this kind of work can only hide. Sang Kuin shook his head and thought for a while. Although I don't know the relationship between the Liu and Limitless City, I know that some people are working for the Liu. Who? Officer Ma asked. Sang Kuin hesitated for a moment and gritted his teeth. I don't know the details, but maybe they're not from Fiery Cloud City. They're very mysterious. I wanted to investigate it, but the people who went to investigate didn't come back. However, there's a place where you can try your luck. Don't keep me guessing, Sang Kuin said seriously. Bayou Club. I know that a Liu goes to this club twice a month at the beginning and the end of the month. As for this club, its origin is mysterious. I haven't found out who the owner is. Bayou Club. Sirma shook his head. I've never heard of it. It's a private club with a membership system, not a water bath club on the roadside, Sang Kuin said seriously. Officer Ma, this time I won't hide it. Liu, that bastard, kicked me out after crossing the bridge. Even if I can't get out in this life, I'll drag him down with me. Listen, I still have an account book from when I was working with the Liu and his gang. Where is it? Sirma's eyes suddenly brightened. The account book was a good thing. The key was not the numbers written on it, but the people mentioned in it, the whole network of the group. I won't take it out now, Sang Kuin said indifferently. I'll tell you when I'm going to court, and during this time, you have to guarantee my safety. Sirma said angrily, This is the headquarters of Fiery Cloud, not the Eastern Branch. Where do you think this is? In short, I will definitely tell you where the account book is hidden before we go to court. Sang Kun stood up. Also, give me a single room. You think this is a hotel? Sir Ma snorted and waved his hand to let them in. Take him away. Only Sir Ma and little Luo were left in the interrogation room. Old Ma's eyebrows loosened and tightened, and he didn't speak for a long time. Suddenly, he looked at little Luo. Are you curious why I'm here to ask about Sang Kun when I'm supposed to be investigating the murder case? Little Luo said, according to Sang Kun's 2 consecutive confessions, he has nothing to do with the 2 victims. Especially when Gu Yao died, Sang Kun was still in charge of the boxing match. Yes, Sir Ma nodded. I'm looking for Sang Kun because of the ice stone powder and the azure tear that old Fong mentioned. Little Luo thought for a while. Do you suspect Lu Jianming? I don't suspect him. Sir Ma too. Zero shook his head. I'm just curious about the ice stone powder. In fact, if old Fong didn't say that he found the azure tear in the 2 victims, I wouldn't have made any connection. Little Luo suddenly said, my father told me that some inspiration is needed to solve the case, but it's just a wild imagination at the beginning. Oh, really? Sir Ma too. Zero said, is your father also an employee? Do I know him? That Luo guy. He should be old since he has a son like you. I don't remember him. He doesn't work here. Little Luo said in a low voice. Master too nodded and then said, I'm thinking that if this ton of ice stone powder was taken out by the Lu privately, and his goal was to get rid of Sang Kun, then there must be an even bigger group behind him. Such a group can't be built in a day. The appearance of Azura's tear reminds me that a few years ago, it was Big Lu who took the lead to destroy the Jade Lake Fairy Palace in Huayan City. Do you think Big Lu secretly left a part of the Jade Lake Fairy Palace behind? I heard that the law enforcers from Kunlun participated in the whole process. Little Luo thought for a while and said, the law enforcers from Kunlun are also human beings. Humans can be careless sometimes. Sir Ma shook his head. Besides, even if the Lu has nothing to do with this case, he's still a big tumor in the Eastern District and even Fire Cloud City. It's a pleasant surprise that we stepped on this clue by accident. This is a great harvest. Little Luo suddenly said, Officer Ma, this is just your inspiration. Sir Ma was about to refute, but at this moment, there was a shout outside the interrogation room. The alarm bell was even rung. What happened? Sir Ma said subconsciously, and then his face changed slightly. Is it Sang Kun? He rushed out of the interrogation room instantly and saw several policemen hurriedly passing by in the corridor. What's the situation? Sir Ma caught one and asked directly. A prison guard on duty kidnapped a prisoner. When Sir Ma and little Luo arrived at the scene, there were already 7 or 8 prison guards surrounding the scene. They were surrounding another prison guard who was covered with blood. At the feet of the blood-stained prison guard, there was a man lying on the ground. Sang Kun. At this moment, Sang Kun collapsed on the ground, with his legs twitching constantly. His throat had been cut, and blood kept flowing. Sang Kun's eyes were now fixed on Sir Ma. Anger, despair, unwillingness. After a few twitches, Sang Kun stopped moving and died with his eyes open. Damn it. Officer Ma gritted his teeth, glaring at the blood-stained prison guard. Tell me, who sent you? Do you think you can escape after killing people here? The prison guard's face was cold, and the weapon in his hand was still dripping blood. He looked at the crowd and suddenly sneered. F*CKU. Calm, indifferent. After a moment of indifference, the prison guard casually waved his hand. He was actually holding the dagger, which was the murder weapon, and directly slashed his own neck. His entire body fell to the ground, and a strange smile appeared on his face. There were 2 fresh corpses lying on the ground, but the scene was dead silent. Perhaps to the prison guards, they had seen too many fights between prisoners and even the occasional murder of prisoners. But for a prison guard to kill a prisoner and then commit suicide, this was clearly the first time. Ma. Officer Ma, what's going on? Bastard. Officer Ma gritted his teeth. Where's the superintendent? Can someone tell me who recruited this guy? Oh no, someone died in cell 7. It's the 9-striped dragon. The 9-striped dragon is also dead. What? Sir Ma couldn't help but be alarmed. Not long ago, he said that this was the territory of the Fiery Cloud General Headquarters and not the East Branch. He never expected to be slapped in the face. At this moment, he was thinking, how many moles were there in the Fiery Cloud General Headquarters? Instead, he calmed down. The death of a suspect here was even worse than the murder of Wang Badan and Gu Yao outside. Little Luo, what are you doing? Sir Ma frowned. He walked closer. Little Luo was squatting beside Sang Kuan's corpse. Look at his eyes. Eyes. Officer Ma was startled. He took a closer look and saw that Sang Kuan's eyes were slanted downwards. Old Ma suddenly flipped Sang Kuan's corpse over. On the floor, there was a strange symbol drawn with blood. Little Luo took a look. He seemed to want to tell you something. Before he died, he kept looking at you. What does this symbol represent? This isn't a symbol. This is the sign of a kindergarten. Sir Ma frowned. Kindergarten? Sir Ma nodded. My youngest son attends this kindergarten, so I recognized at a glance. Little Luo blinked. Oh, in that case, pale blue. As Mrs. Ma still couldn't escape the fate of the old muscle. Well, having a second child at an old age. Chapter 2399. Outside the parking lot of the detention center, Sir Ma came over with 2 bottles of water. He didn't look relaxed. You must be tired. Drink some water. Officer Ma gave him the water and said, the guy who kills Sang Kuan has been here for 5 years. He was transferred for the Eastern Branch. Little Luo asked curiously, is it normal to be transferred in Huiyun City? It's normal. Officer Ma too. Zero said without hesitation. There are vacancies every year. If there are no suitable graduates in the school, the other 4 branches will be the first to be considered. In fact, not only the Eastern Branch, there are many people from the other 4 branches in the headquarters. For the balance? For the balance. Officer Ma nodded. It's a bit complicated. You should know that we're not completely under the control of the mayor. In some cases, we can even go beyond the mayor of Huiyun City. The headquarters is like a platform that allows outstanding people to jump to a bigger stage. Kunlun? Yes. Sir Ma said in a low voice, Kunlun, Nantian Gate, is the holy land of Kanglin. But still too early for you. You need to train yourself, and maybe you can go to Kunlun in the future. Little Luo smiled. It's good to go there if I have a chance, but I don't plan to leave Huiyun City yet. Confidence was a good thing, but Officer Ma felt that Xiao Luo was overconfident. However, he had reached such a high level in police fighting skills at such a young age. Although he was young, he had the right to be confident. Let's not talk about this. He then said, the message that Sang Kuan left behind before he died pointed to my son's kindergarten. I suspect that he might have hidden the secret account book in this kindergarten. Little Luo thought for a while. Do you think Lu Jiaming's gang knew that Sang Kuan had the account book? Very likely. Officer Ma said seriously, they might even be looking for it now. We have to find it earlier than them. As for the murder case, I'm afraid we can only rely on Westgate to do more work. Human lives were important, but DeLu was the representative of the entire corporation, which posed a greater threat to the company. Sir Ma could only make a choice after weighing the pros and cons. Aren't you going to report this to the general director? Officer Little Luo asked suddenly. Officer Ma couldn't help but stop. He remembered that Little Luo had joined the investigation team with the appointment of the director. To a certain extent, Little Luo could be considered as the director's representative. I suggest you keep it a secret for the time being. Sir Ma said casually, of course, I can't stop you if you report it. Officer Little Luo said softly, Officer Ma, you can trust me. Azure Blue. Old Ma couldn't help but be startled. At this moment, it was as if he had known this newcomer for a long time. He couldn't help but be distracted and subconsciously said, then let me believe you. Officer Little Luo said, let's go to the kindergarten. Ding. The moment the elevator door opened, Tony didn't see the property manager with a good figure when he came back last night. Of course, it was the afternoon of the second day, so it was normal to change shifts, but in Tony's impression, most of the property managers in this high-end community were women. There were men, but they were usually young and handsome. However, The one in front of him was obviously not young. "I don't think I've seen you before." Tony looked at the guy in front of him and said, "She wasn't young, but she wasn't very old either. She had maintained a good figure. Perhaps some of the older noblewomen had certain needs in this area." "Hello, Mr. D." The male butler smiled and said, "I just started work today. It's the first time we meet. Please take care of me in the future." "Do you know me?" Tony frowned. The male butler said, "Before I started work, I had memorized the information of the residents in this building. I have a good memory, and I'm good at recognizing people. I've been standing here and saw the elevator coming down from the 39th floor. There are only 2 households on the 39th floor. One of them said that the owner went out for a trip recently, so I guessed it was you." "Good." Tony nodded. "Do your job well. There should be some people in this building who prefer your type. The lady in Block B on the 43rd floor just lost a pet dog last week, so she must be in a bad mood recently." The male butler was a little surprised, but soon understood. He whispered, "Thank you, Mr. D. You're welcome." Tony suddenly smiled, as if he was mocking himself. "This is probably considered as loving what I do. All the best." The male butler looked at him blankly. Tony smiled faintly and ignored the new property butler. As usual, he walked to the parking lot and drove away. "Tony!" After Di Qinglong left, the male butler hurried to the front desk and turned off the elevator surveillance camera. At this moment, under the front desk, there was a pretty girl in a midnight butler's uniform lying on the ground. Apparently, the girl had fainted. The male butler looked around and walked directly into the elevator. He took the girl's door card and swiped it to the floor where Di Qinglong's house was. In front of the door, the male butler wiped his face, revealing a pale face with scars under his eyes. "Shiminka." He put his palm gently on the door lock of Di Qinglong's house. His consciousness hit the restriction on the door hundreds of times per second. Spiritual restriction was a type of door lock that could only be opened by a suitable owner. Of course, only this kind of high-class apartment could provide it. Ordinary houses still mainly use traditional locks. After a while, there seemed to be a thin layer of fog on the door slowly dissipating. Shiminka chuckled and directly pushed the door open. He was instantly stunned by the luxurious decoration in the room and couldn't help but whistle. Is it so easy to earn money by opening a hair salon? Shaking his head, Shiminka made a gesture and pressed on the wall. Instantly, lines of small silver ants began to crawl out from his palm. The silver ants quickly crawled into every small gap in the house in order to find if there were any hidden compartments or the like. At this time, Shiminka just needed to wait. He looked around the mansion casually and sighed. With the current property prices in Huiyun City, young people really had no way out. Even if they tried their best to live and spent all their strength, they could only live in a small space that couldn't even fit a bed. It was not as comfortable as being in prison. At this moment, a sound of something breaking through the air came. Shiminka's face froze. The moment he turned around instinctively, he put his hands in front of his body to protect himself. A huge force instantly hit his crossed arms. With a bang, he heard an explosion. It was a tennis ball that suddenly attacked him. The tennis ball had been broken and fell to the ground, still showing the whites of its eyes for a long time. Shiminka's eyes narrowed slightly, seeing a figure standing in front of the door, Di Qinglong. "I remember that before I left, I didn't say that I wanted cleaning service." Tony in front of the door said expressionlessly, "Are all the property managers nowadays so reckless?" Shiminka casually looked at her shattered sleeve, but she didn't panic. Instead, she curiously asked, "When did you find out?" Di Qinglong said indifferently, "I'm sensitive to smell, especially smell. When we met yesterday, I was very concerned about the smell of animals on your body. I've never met a guy like you who exudes the smell of animals from head to toe. Even the keepers in a zoo are not like you. It's like mixing in a herd of animals." Shiminka chuckled. "This is a talent. No wonder you can still rule the cowherd market in Huiyun City for half a year, even though you've retired. I think this talent of yours is more used to distinguish the perfume scent of women, right? I'm willing to call you Duck King. Roland, you're not bad either." Di Qinglong walked into the room expressionlessly. Beast tamer Shiminka, the most outstanding psychic in the history of Huiyun General Headquarters, a natural spiritual beast body. I'm only a private detective now. Shiminka's gaze shifted. I've checked. There's nothing valuable here. Then goodbye. With that, Shiminka casually walked past Di Qinglong and headed out of the door. At this moment, the moment they passed each other, the two moved together. An explosive shockwave spread out from the two of them in an instant, and the wooden floor was directly blasted apart. Why did you investigate me? Di Qinglong raised his leg like a long whip. He was clearly good at martial arts with his legs. I went to the hospital, and know that you also went to the hospital to visit Guze yesterday. Shiminka blocked Di Qinglong's attack with some difficulty. You said that you only had an ordinary relationship with Gu Yao as a hairdresser and customer. Why did you visit Guze? Miss Yao and I were friends. She died tragically, leaving behind a seriously ill younger brother. What's wrong with me visiting Guze? Di Qinglong said indifferently. Gu Yao's death is not simple. Shiminka quickly said, As for you, I'm afraid you aren't an ordinary hairdressing salon owner. You are such a skilled hairdresser, and you are the former Duck King. Furthermore, you have a close relationship with the deceased. Aren't you planning on explaining? If I don't investigate these matters thoroughly, I'll be letting down the person who hired me. Let's end the detective game here. Di Qinglong snorted coldly. You let the real culprit go unpunished and come to harass me. You must be a fake detective. You seem to know something about the culprit. I'm also looking. I won't let off the person who hurt Miss Yao. Why did you visit Guze yesterday? I already answered you. You didn't tell me the truth. Shiminka was sent flying by the kick and smashed into the wall. However, most of the force was neutralized, so she wasn't injured. Although they had been conversing, it was a dangerous conversation. The two of them didn't stop fighting, and their strength was gradually increasing. I don't have to tell you the truth. Shiminka said, You know me, so you should know why I left Firecloud General Headquarters. To me, I only want to catch the culprit. Other than that, Guiyur has nothing to do with me. If you also wish to catch the culprit who killed Gu Yao, Miss Yao, then cooperate with me. Tell me everything you know. As she said that, Shiminka suddenly gave up all her defenses. Her hands hung down, and she didn't dodge or hide from Di Qinglong's terrifying kick. It was to show her sincerity. Bang! However, that terrifying whip kick ruthlessly struck Shiminka's body. At the moment she was sent flying, other than the pain, Shiminka seemed to be a little confused. This didn't seem to be the case. Shiminka's consciousness suddenly went blank, and she fainted. When Shiminka woke up again, it was already more than an hour later. He climbed up from the sofa, feeling as if his lungs were pierced by something while breathing. Shiminka coughed twice in pain. You're so stubborn. You actually didn't dodge, Di Qinglong said indifferently. You're really not afraid that I'll kick you to death. Your F** can go too far by kicking me down, okay? Even TV shows don't dare to do that. Shiminka rolled his eyes. You didn't kick me to death. Di Qinglong said, I did kick you. I used all my strength, but I didn't kick you to death. Shiminka suddenly felt a lingering fear. During the hour when he was unconscious, it was enough for the other party to kill him thousands of times. He shook his head and couldn't help but smile bitterly. I was too careless. Someone wants to deal with her, Di Qinglong suddenly said. Shiminka subconsciously frowned. Her, Miss Yao, Di Qinglong said slowly. Before she got into trouble, she told me that she felt like someone wanted to harm her. She said she felt a gaze. What gaze? Di Qinglong thought for a while and said, I suspect that Miss Yao has been watched recently, so that's why she had this feeling. She said that this feeling only appeared after she went to visit her brother in the hospital. It appeared several times in the hospital. The hospital again. Shiminka muttered, Yesterday, other than you, someone else went to Guze's ward. I know. Di Qinglong nodded. I saw another small gift. Who is it? Shiminka said, I lost him. In a hospital surveillance, this person looked like a man from the back. He has a medium build. Other than that, there's little information. However, his back looks similar to the guy in the hotel video that Miss Yao went to before she died. Di Qinglong muttered, If it's just a normal visit, He shouldn't be sneaking around. On the other hand, the other party doesn't want anyone to know that he appeared. Shimin Ka suddenly struggled to stand up. What are you going to do? Di Qinglong frowned. I advise you not to move. At least 2 of your ribs are broken. You really want to kick me to death? Shimin Ka smiled bitterly, then shook his head and said, I just remembered that I forgot to do one thing yesterday. What is it? You didn't open the gift from the mysterious person to see what's inside. Di Qinglong pondered for a while and said coldly, I'll go too. Shimin Ka didn't refuse. He even put his hand on Di Qinglong's shoulder as if they were close friends. He really couldn't stand up. His lungs hurt. By the way, the lady upstairs who had a dead pet you mentioned just now, what kind of pet did she have? Di Qinglong rolled his eyes. Let's go, great detective. At this moment, Shimin Ka's pocket suddenly vibrated a few times. He took out his phone and looked at it. It was a message from the nurse in the hospital. After reading the message, Shimin Ka raised his head and said with a strange expression, the hospital said that Guze woke up just now. End of this chapter. Chapter 2400. In the ward, the young man who had been bedridden for a long time, his face was extremely pale and dry. He was sitting in a daze. He seemed to be thinking about something. Shimin Ka retracted her gaze from the blinds and leaned against the wall. Doctor, what's wrong with him now? I feel like something is wrong with him. The patient has been in a coma for a long time. He was injured in the extraterritorial battlefield, so there's something wrong with his divine soul. The doctor looked at the report and said, his divine soul is injured. It's not a big problem, but it's not a small problem either. Later, I'll do a targeted resonance treatment to integrate his divine soul. But based on the current situation, it's better to let the patient adapt to the environment first. Di Qinglong couldn't help but frown. You mean there might be something wrong with his memory? The doctor said, from the preliminary examination, there's nothing wrong with his cognitive ability. His reaction may be a bit slow because he just woke up, but he'll get better soon. As for the rest, we still need to observe him. The patient has just woken up. Later, we'll do a full-body examination on him. Can we go in and ask him? Shimin Ka suddenly asked. It's best not to take too long. The doctor thought for a while and said, he should need a quiet environment. We know, it won't take too long. Shimin Ka nodded. Guze, do you still remember who you are? The young man on the bed looked at Shimin Ka blankly. He seemed to subconsciously shake his head and said incoherently, Who? Then do you remember that you have a sister? Di Qinglong asked. The young man shook his head in confusion. Have a good rest. You'll get better soon. After all, you've woken up. There's nothing better than this. Di Qinglong couldn't help but frown. After he and Shimin Ka looked at each other, he gently shook his head and signaled for them to leave. The young man nodded and silently watched Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong leave. Then he looked out the window absent-mindedly. On the chair in the corridor outside the ward, Shimin Ka was holding 2 small gifts in her hands. She seemed to be thinking about something. At this moment, Di Qinglong walked over and said indifferently, the blue one is from me. Shimin Ka shrugged and opened the other gift that was wrapped in yellow. What is this? Both of them were focused on the gift box, but when they saw what was inside the gift box, they couldn't help but show a surprised expression, because what was inside was obviously not something dangerous. Paper crane? The pink paper cranes were similar to the ones hanging in the ward, or rather, they were the same. Shimin Ka held the paper crane in his palm and carefully observed it. He narrowed his eyes and suddenly said, This is not an ordinary paper crane. What is that? Shimin Ka thought for a while and said, This is not an ordinary origami, but a special material specially used for drawing talisman. If I'm not mistaken, this should be cicada wing paper. This was obviously beyond Di Qinglong's knowledge. Anyway, he sat down and waited to see what Shimin Ka had to say. The cicada wing paper is handmade. There's no way to produce it in an assembly line. Shimin Ka pondered and said, The annual production of this paper material is very limited. There shouldn't be many places in Huayun City that supply it. Di Qinglong took the paper crane from Shimin Ka's hand and frowned. Why do you use this special material for making talisman? Could it be? With that, Di Qinglong quickly opened the paper crane. Then, A talisman full of folds appeared in front of them. Shimin Ka's eyes narrowed, but she heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's not an explosive talisman. What did you say? Di Qinglong opened his mouth in surprise. Shimin Ka said, at present, the explosive talisman of Azure Blue uses several fixed talisman gall runes and then splices other runes to achieve different effects. However, it can't be separated from the fixed talisman gall. This talisman doesn't have these few talisman galls, so it won't explode. If it wanted to explode, it would have exploded long ago. Di Qinglong shook his head in annoyance. You have studied talisman books? Can you tell what kind of talisman it is? Shimin Ka spread out his hands and said, I know about the talisman gallbladder of the detonation talisman because I once stayed in the explosives disposal class. What I learned was all about the detonation talisman. I'm not a professional talisman maker, so I need a professional to answer this question. Wait a minute. He suddenly took out his cell phone, and the caller was Sir Ma too. Zero, I'll go to the doctor to find out more about Guzei's condition. Di Qinglong didn't say anything and directly left. No wonder he was the Duck King. He could even treat men so well. Shimin Ka picked up the phone and said directly, Speak. Okay, I got it. I'll leave the case to you. On the flying car, Sir Ma too. Zero was driving with the cell phone between his neck. If you need anything, just call Lin Phone. I've already talked to him, and he'll fully cooperate with you. Bye. After hanging up, Sir Ma suddenly looked at little Luo in the passenger's seat. Do you think it's inappropriate for me to leave this to Shimin? Little Luo shook her head. I heard from Mr. Shimin that he used to work for Fire Cloud General Headquarters. He's my partner. Officer Ma said seriously. Shimin has been with me since he graduated. We cooperated seamlessly in those years. Now, don't think that he's just a private detective. In fact, he's more like a non-staff member of Huayuan HQ. Maybe he thinks it's more convenient to be a detective. Why did he leave? Little Luo asked curiously. Sir Ma too. Zero said, it's not a secret, but it was a big blow to Shimin. We had an operation that year, and Shimin was late because of something. When he arrived, more than half of his team members were dead or injured. Since then, he couldn't recover from the setback. In the end, Shimin resigned and left the headquarters. Well, little Luo nodded, pointing ahead calmly, red light. OF *CK. Sir Ma slammed on the brakes, wiping off the cold sweat. Thank goodness, or I'll be fined this month. The flying car continued forward and soon landed in front of a building with a cute style. The destination of this trip was the kindergarten that Sang Kun had left behind before he died. The kindergarten wasn't open on Sunday, but Sir Ma showed his ID. However, there were only 2 security guards in the kindergarten, so he couldn't get any information from them. But soon, a deputy principal came to the kindergarten. It was the security guard who had informed him. The deputy director was a plump woman of some age. Her hair was a little messy, probably because she came in a hurry. Officers, may I know what you are investigating? We're chasing a criminal. Sir Ma made a random excuse. He might have sneaked in. So I'm going to search your kindergarten. The deputy principal was shocked. You're Officer Ma, right? Ma Jun's father. I saw you at the parent-teacher conference last time. Do you remember? Let's talk later. We're working on a case, so I hope you can understand. Of course. The deputy principal hurriedly said. Fortunately, it's a holiday today. Otherwise, it would be terrible if a dangerous person sneaked in. Officer Ma, please catch the criminal as soon as possible. We'll cooperate with you if you need anything. Sir Ma thought for a while and said, Is there a parent called Chun Yokuin in your kindergarten? Little Luo blinked. He had read the information and knew that Chun Yokuin was actually Sang Kun. The deputy principal hurriedly took out her tablet to check the information. We have many parents with the surname Chun, but no one called Chun Yokuin. Does it have anything to do with the criminal? Nothing, I'm just asking. Sir Ma said casually. That guy owes me money. I heard that his child is here, so I'm just asking. Huh. After sending the deputy principal away, Sir Ma and little Luo walked into the kindergarten without any clue. Officer Ma had a hunch that the account book might be hidden here. The key point was that the kindergarten was not small, so it was obviously difficult to find the account book. If you were Sang Kun and you wanted to hide something here, where would you hide it? Officer Ma pondered and asked. Little Luo thought for a while and said, there are many children in the kindergarten. Children are more active. If you don't hide it well, you may be in danger of being discovered. Maybe you're thinking of a place where children don't often go. A place where children can't reach. Officer Ma thought for a while and said, it's either underground or on the roof. Of course, there are many possibilities inside the walls. Maybe we can try that. Little Luo suddenly pointed. Officer Ma looked in the direction of the tip and found that what Xiao Luo was pointing at was the sign of the kindergarten at the gate. The kindergarten's logo? Why didn't I think of that? Officer Ma patted his head. The pattern left by Sangquin before he died not only refers to the kindergarten, but also the hiding place. Officer Xiao Luo said, Chen Yokuin was dying at that time. If he wanted to leave the information of the collection location before he died, he would not show a large range of locations, but more accurate information. Yes, I think of it now, that's right. Officer Ma too. Zero laughed. You're good, you only got it a few seconds faster than me. Is this really the humble and wife-loving Uncle Ma? Little Luo suddenly felt a sense of novelty, so he smiled. I'll go and have a look. It's not a big deal, just leave it to me. Officer Ma waved his hand, saying indifferently, don't look at me like this. I have a nickname that will scare you to death. Lightness skill, isn't it awesome? Back then, I represented Firecloud and participated in the Azure police games. As he spoke, Officer Ma, who was already middle-aged, could no longer hide his bulging belly. He simply gave up and spread his arms. Like an overweight white crane, he ran a few steps and really started to float. But his speed was not fast. Little Luo blinked his eyes. As expected, there were many interesting and different things in Kanglan police games. However, Subworld 003 had already begun to develop into a supernatural society. Perhaps, when he returned next time, Mahout in Subworld 003 might be able to float as well. After a short while, Officer Matu Zero had climbed to the top of the 4-story signboard. He knocked on a logo at the top, and then he lifted a corner of the signboard and seemed to take something out. Found it. Officer Matu Zero raised a black booklet and jumped down. However, a black shadow appeared behind Officer Matu Zero when he landed. In a split second, the black shadow slapped Officer Matu Zero's Jr. with all his might. But at this moment, Officer Ma in Kanglan Police Games roared, Black Tortoise skill. Bang! The palm at Officer Matu Zero's back, making a loud sound like a tire bursting. Officer Matu Zero stood there motionlessly. His body that was full of fat now looked like it had been injected with muscle expansion agent. Even his clothes were torn apart. He was muscular and had a mustache, looking extraordinary. The guy who sneaked up on Officer Matu Zero showed his face. He was wearing a black leather coat, a pair of black gloves, and a white mask. Officer Matu Zero rolled up the booklet and put in his belt. His muscles twitched, and he sneered, I knew there was a stalker behind me. I was wondering when he would come out to fart. Can't wait any longer? The man with the mask didn't say anything. He rushed up again and slapped at Officer Matu Zero again. This time, Officer Matu Zero didn't dodge. He burst out his muscles and was like a Herculean King Kong. However, right at this moment, a layer of bright, clear light suddenly appeared on the palm that was slapping towards him. Officer Matu Zero exclaimed, F***C. Chi Gang, you're at level 4? Officer Matu Zero shuddered when the palm was about to hit him. The technique he was using had the strongest defense among his level, but it had a disadvantage. He couldn't use it. Once he used it, the technique would be broken, and he would die faster. He estimated that he could survive the attack with his black tortoise kung fu, so he would fall to the ground. But he couldn't hold the booklet. He thought for a moment. At that moment, the palm didn't really hit Officer Ma. It was about 10 centimeters away from his chest. The wrist of the sneak attacker was caught by a hand that didn't seem to have done any hard work. Little Luo, Officer Ma exclaimed in surprise. And then he said, How many stages are you at this time? At that moment, the sneak attacker's wrist made a cracking sound, and then his palm shrank a few inches and was pulled out from Little Luo's grasp. The assailant quickly retreated several meters away. His hand had already been broken. I heard that a super newbie came to Fiery Cloud General Headquarters and defeated Sanquin, who ranked 10th on the blacklist. That guy is you, right? A low and hoarse voice came from the mouthless mask, and a pair of eyes that were filled with haze flickered uncertainly. Chapter 24:01. In Pale Blue, there was a strict cultivation system, but modern people were lazy, so they used levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Actually, the people in Pale Blue were very careful. At least they didn't use LV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to differentiate the levels. Level 4 was a watershed. Only those who reached level 4 would have the ability to explore Pale Blue. There was an old saying, level 3 doesn't go out. This 8 referred to the area, a city, or something like that. The outstanding people among the Tier 3 already had the capital to dominate, the streets. For example, Sanquin, who was ranked 10th on the so-called blacklist in the underworld of Firecloud City. He was one of the best among the third-order cultivators. Level 3 was also called Grandmaster. Above level 3 was Great Grandmaster. Surma 2:0 once saw little Luo beat down Sanquin and the 9-striped dragon with one punch, so he knew that this guy was a level 3 Great Grandmaster, which meant a level 4 cultivator. He directly asked little Luo what level he was at in the police force for convenience. This was because within Azure Blue, the police force's combat skills were one of the few paths that could be cultivated to the top. It did not only have combat skills, but also mental cultivation methods, movement techniques, and even dabbled in making talismans, refining weapons, and so on. Its real scientific name was actually the Jade Pure Scripture. It was an encyclopedia of cultivation methods that Kunlun had developed and was still developing. This was an unexpected surprise. After all, in Fiery Cloud City, there were very few Tier 4 experts in the headquarters and branches of the Finger Arts Department. In fact, the few directors and deputy directors at the top also had very high cultivation bases. However, they were already old and weak. They who were unable to reach Tier 4 had long fallen from their peak. Now, they could only sigh and wait for death. A level 4 Great Grandmaster, level 3, who might reach level 5, surpass her before the age of 30. Surma was very excited about this talent. Therefore, Surma 2:0 felt that this was a sure thing since little Luo attacked. At this time, little Luo and the attacker looked at each other. Officer Ma 2:0 didn't dare to make any noise because he didn't want to disturb Xiao Luo, but his feet were itchy, and he felt uncomfortable all over because his clothes were torn off. The main reason was that the mystical tortoise shield could not be maintained for long. Right now, his muscles, which were like golden wheels, were beginning to soften. "You are very young," the ambusher slowly said. "I've never seen someone with this level of cultivation. It's a pity that he died here. Hand it over. I don't want to ruin your bright future." Little Luo said seriously, "I'll take your persuasion seriously." The ambusher seemed to be a little surprised. He muttered to himself for a moment, then let out a cold snort. After that, his opponent's fists collided. During the collision, the ambusher's arms were actually covered with a layer of grayish-black armor that looked like the claws of a beast. Cultivation level doesn't represent strength. The strength of a Shioja also needs to take into account armament. After putting on the armor, the ambusher's speed increased a lot. At this moment, facing the fierce attack, little Luo stretched out his hand and tried to push the ambusher away. But unexpectedly, the ambusher didn't move at all. Little Luo blinked his eyes as if he was surprised. "Increase!" Another low voice suddenly appeared. The dragon eye on the strange gauntlet of the ambusher seemed to have come alive at this time, and actually emitted a faint light. The word increase seemed to have come from this gauntlet as well. The ambusher punched out, and his strength increased by at least 3 times. Little Luo blocked it with his fighting skills and retreated a few meters, but he was fine. Is this the Black Dragon King's claw of the 36 forbidden devices? At this moment, Surma 2:0 exclaimed, "Didn't the leader of the Black Dragon Gang get executed in Kunlun? How come you have his forbidden device?" The ambusher didn't answer. He just said indifferently, I said, cultivation level doesn't mean everything. You'll have a bright future. Don't die here. Give it to me. I don't plan to kill anyone today. Little Luo pondered. Officer Ma, how effective is this weapon? Sir Ma, too. Zero didn't know this young man was still in the mood to care about this at this moment. He quickly said, I don't know how much he developed the Black Dragon King's claw, but at least when the leader of the Black Dragon Gang had it, he had the combat power of a level 5 surpasser. In the end, Kunlun sent 2 level 6 law enforcers to take him down. This forbidden device is weird. It can increase the power greatly, but it also has great side effects. Little Luo nodded and suddenly asked, is there a level 5 officer in the Fiery Cloud City Police Force? What? Sir Matu. Zero opened his mouth wide. Only Yin, but he was promoted to Kunlun long ago. Distant water can't put out a nearby fire. No, we can't just sit here and wait. I'll stall him. You have a higher cultivation level, so you can take the account book and run. I don't believe he can break through the Fiery Cloud General Headquarters. Do you think I'll give you a chance? With a sneer, the ambusher turned into a black shadow. His speed was beyond Sir Ma's observation. The Black Dragon King's claw directly grabbed his chest. Old Ma's softened muscles couldn't bulge up in an instant. A gust of wind blew, shaking his fat. I'm dead. However, before he could finish his sentence, a gentle rotating force rose from under Officer Matu. Zero's feet and instantly covered his whole body. The moment the Black Dragon King's claw touched the rotating force, it bounced off. Little Luo put his hands together, and a green 8 trigrams rune appeared under his feet. Isn't this Yi Yan's signature technique? 8 trigrams? Sir Matu. Zero shivered and said, F***CK. You're Yi Yan student. I knew it. How could those trashy instructors in the Fiery Cloud Police Force Academy teach such a great master like you? I see. You've really tricked me. Little Luo wasn't surprised. Yi Yan's existence was just a coincidence. It was easy to download a person's combat power in seconds, as long as he knew the specific name. That was why he asked this question. After all, it would cost him a lot of energy. Why would he need a level 6 if he could solve it at level 5? Officer Luo only regarded this case as an experience that fulfilled his childhood dream. He didn't intend to spend too much of his life points for this. Besides, after knowing that the target was Yi Yin from Pale Blue, Little Luo felt close to him. Yi Yin, Fire Cloud's god of criminal investigation. You're a student? The ambusher's emotions seemed to fluctuate, and his voice contained a trace of surprise. Little Luo said in a low voice, to some extent, Yi Yin is my teacher. Sax's teacher. Yi Yan student? The attacker said in a deep voice. Then let me see how much you've learned from him. I'll break your 8 trigrams rune. Amplification, 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 strengthen. Black Dragon King's claw instantly let out a series of roars. At this moment, the sneak attacker's aura started to cover his entire body like a flowing fire. He grabbed his right hand with his left hand and opened his right hand. Suddenly, a green-black light wave was shot out. Boom! The huge explosion turned into a sound wave and spread out instantly. The glass of the whole kindergarten building was broken. However, the terrible light wave didn't disperse at this time. Instead, it was kneaded by Officer Luo's hands like dough. In the end, Officer Luo flicked the light wave in his hand into the sky. The light ball shot into the clouds and disappeared. You are a level 5 surpasser, the attacker exclaimed in disbelief. For now, Little Luo said casually, then please go back to the Fiery Cloud General Headquarters with us. With that, Little Luo took a step forward and moved like a swimming dragon. Sir Matu. Zero exclaimed again. Swimming dragon body was one of Yi Yan's signature moves. Good heavens, this Little Luo must be old Ye's illegitimate child. He even passed on his trump card, a stage 5 surpasser against a stage 4 ambusher with a strange forbidden artifact. This should have been a fierce battle, but it didn't seem to be the case. However, what happened in the underground boxing arena happened again in front of Sir Matu. Zero, Last time, little Luo smashed Sankuin with one punch. This time, little Luo used the swimming dragon body and slapped the attacker away. That terrifying black dragon king's claw was also slapped back, directly retracting into the ambusher's arms. Sermatu. Zero gasped and exclaimed, "What a guy!" In the distance, the ambusher who had been sent flying staggered to his feet. Suddenly, he clutched his chest. Traces of blood flowed out from his mouthless face. It was clear that he was severely injured. The ambusher pretended to summon the Black Dragon King's claw again. Without another word, he turned around and rushed out of the kindergarten. "Don't let him escape." Sermatu. Zero hurriedly chased after him, but he had lost sight of the attacker. The street was full of frightened pedestrians. After all, it was a battle between level 4 and above, and the destruction was huge. If little Luo didn't deflect the attack of the Black Dragon King's claw into the sky, it would have caused great chaos. "Little Luo, why didn't you chase after him?" Sermatu. Zero turned around and saw little Luo walking towards him slowly. "I'll let him go," little Luo said in a low voice. "I put the tracker on him when I left the headquarters this morning." "Really?" Sermatu. Zero patted his head. "That guy is injured and will definitely go back to his nest. I'm just giving him a taste of his own medicine," little Luo said indifferently. "What medicine?" "The tracker is in the car," little Luo said. "Officer Ma, let's get in the car and see where he went." Sermatu. Zero nodded and waved his hand. "Good guy. You don't have to call me officer anymore. You're old Yez F * King student, so you can call me uncle. Old Yi and I grew up wearing the same underwear." Little Luo nodded. Yin and old Ma were the same age, so he didn't care too much. After all, this was another subworld. "Uncle Ma." "Hey, good boy." "Limitless City?" Di Qinglong's car stopped in front of a huge area. In front of him was like a huge stone jungle. This was once the largest unfinished project in Huiyun City. Fiery Cloud once said that everything can be found in Limitless City. Shiminka closed the car door and looked up at the huge city, chuckling. "There are the best and worst talisman makers in Fiery Cloud City. I don't want to go in," Di Qinglong said coldly. Shiminka squinted. "Why? I thought you should be familiar with Limitless City." Di Qinglong said expressionlessly. "What do you want to say?" Shiminka shrugged his shoulders and said, "I have investigated you, and you suddenly disappeared for a few years. You know, in Huiyun City, it is impossible for a person to disappear for a few years. There must be no trace of you. Unless this person stayed in Limitless City all the time." Di Qinglong laughed. "Funny. Can I go out for a trip?" Shiminka said indifferently. "There is no record of your entry at the immigration office. If you just go out for a trip, you don't have to sneak in, do you?" Di Qinglong shrugged, looked at Shiminka indifferently, and then walked straight to an entrance in the lower area of Limitless City. "Give me a hand, please. My ribs haven't completely healed yet." Fiery Cloud City, Civil Affairs Bureau. A dazzling, flying motorcycle directly landed on the roof of the Civil Affairs Bureau's building. Everyone in the building couldn't help but shiver in an instant. After a while, the door of the office of the Director of Civil Affairs Bureau was suddenly kicked open, and the door fell down directly. The Director of Civil Affairs Bureau, who was working conscientiously, suddenly became angry and said angrily, "Who is so bold to—" "Miss Red Boy, why are you here?" Red Boy, who was wearing a tight leather suit, walked to the front of the Director of Civil Affairs Bureau, pulled out a chair, and sat down. She put her helmet on the table and said, "Help me investigate a person, Gao Salon, from Tsawa Town. She should have given birth in Fiery Cloud City. It's mainly about the children. I want to know how many children she has. I'll give you half an hour." The Director of Civil Affairs Bureau was stunned, but he quickly wrote down the name and then asked tentatively, "Miss Red Boy, how is this Gao Salon related to you?" "1 minute," Red Boy said indifferently. Yes, I'll do it right away. Please wait here. Wait a moment." The Director of Civil Affairs Bureau wiped his cold sweat and hurriedly ran out of the office. After a while, the entire building started to work crazily. They began to investigate the information of a pregnant woman who had appeared in Fiery Cloud City 30 years ago. In fact, it was more convenient to go to Fiery Cloud General Headquarters to look for information. However, she had burned down most of Fiery Cloud General Headquarters not long ago, so she felt a little embarrassed. Thinking about it, Red Boy found that she hadn't contacted the investigation team for a day, and she didn't know what progress Mahout had made. Red Boy picked up the phone and called Officer Ma. What? Who asked you to investigate another case? Do you want to be suspended? Chapter 2402. The law enforcers in Huiyun City were paid by the local finance department, but they might not call the local government their daddy. Little miss, I didn't say I'd give up your classmate's case. Trust me, okay? We'll bring the murderer to justice. I'll explain it to you later, really. The phone was held away from the ear, and the girl's angry voice could be faintly heard. Hey, what are you talking about? I can't hear you clearly. Hello? Hello? Sir Ma 2. Zero turned off the phone and looked at little Luo. Did that guy stop? He's still moving, but he's slowing down. Little Luo looked at the moving red dot on the screen and said, Go through the second exit on the right. Officer Ma 2. Zero looked around and said, This is the North District's territory. North District? Little Luo raised his head. Sir Ma frowned. Sang Kuan should be working with the evil forces in the East District. Why would he go to the North District? Wait, I remember the Bayou Club that Sang Kuan mentioned before his death. I've just asked someone to check, and the club's registered address is in the North District. Little Luo suddenly said, Stop. Let me see. Officer Ma glanced at the electronic map on the screen. The place where the red dot stopped was marked with a name, Bayou Entertainment Private Club. At this moment, the red dot on the electronic map suddenly disappeared. Officer Ma muttered, What's going on? Was the tracker discovered? Young Sir Luo thought for a while and said, If it was discovered, there was no need to destroy the BO club after it was closed. It should be that there is a signal blocking facility in the club. That makes sense. Sir Ma nodded, and the phone was turned on again. Hello, this is old Ma. Connect me to Lung phone. Yes, right away. It's urgent. I'm not joking. Little Luo, Sir looked over subconsciously. Lung Feng, after a while, Sir Ma 2. Zero said quickly, Hey, Dumbo, it's me. I have a favor to ask of you. Yes, give me a party right now. Equipment? Of course, that would be for the best. Don't be in a hurry to act. Wait for my call. I'll send you the location later. Bye. Officer Ma, who is Lung Feng? Little Luo asked directly. Sir Ma 2. Zero said, Don't you know? The captain and instructor of the Special Task Force in Fiery Cloud City. I was the one who called for the Special Task Force yesterday to capture Sang Kuan from Dumbo. Oh, from Cold Front. Little Luo Sir blinked and asked curiously, Are you going to send out the task force so soon? Sir Ma 2. Zero said matter-of-factly. What else? Who the hell knew what dangers there were in the Blue U Club? We're good policemen of Fiery Cloud City. A disciplined troop, not lone heroes. You can't be a hero by yourself. It'll be too late if you call for backup when something happens. Of course, we have a dozen snipers and a reinforced company to back us up. That seemed to be the case. But Officer Ma 2. Zero didn't know what was wrong. He was talking about the essence of his life experience, and he couldn't stop talking about it. Little Luo, Sir smiled. Yes, you should go in from the intersection just now. Oh, from the first day of business, the Jade U Club only accepted members, but very few people knew the criteria for accepting members. There had never been a member of the BO Club on the internet, so no one knew what the number of gas in the club was or what the code was. Even if a brave person knocked on the door, he or she would be politely invited out. The door was closed all day long, and no one knew where the members came from. Even so, the door was still luxurious and even had a retro style. Few people knew what kind of Blue U Club was inside. In fact, the decoration inside was also retro style, even antique. All the staff in the club were dressed in ancient robes, but without exception, everyone's face was covered with a rectangular piece of white cloth. Only the mark on the white cloth could tell who was who. Jia 7, E3, Xian 5, and so on. At this moment, in a simple and elegant room of the club, the ambusher who had just fought a great battle was sitting cross-legged on a bed. Wisps of steam were slowly rising from the top of his head. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of black blood and then flowed out from the bottom of his mask. In the side room, there were two women whose faces couldn't be seen, but their figures were definitely hot. One of them immediately handed over a handkerchief, and the other brought over a basin of water. Jiao 1, Ding 4. Jiao 1 obviously had a higher status, while Ding 4 just stood there motionlessly with a basin of water. "Mister, are you feeling better?" The woman holding the handkerchief, Jiao 1, said softly, "You have already taken the healing pill given by Mississippi. It should be able to get rid of the poison in Black Dragon King's claw." "The poison is not a problem," the sneak attacker said indifferently. "It's just that my internal injuries are not light. I didn't expect that there would be a surpasser by Ma Hao's side, and he's so young." "Mister, you said that this person is the student of Yi Yin, the god of criminal investigation in Flaming Cloud City?" The woman gently washed the handkerchief in the basin of warm water, but as far as I know, before he left Flaming Cloud City, he didn't have a disciple. Now he has developed in Kunlun, his southern sky gate, and his position is not low, but he still hasn't accepted a disciple. That's Yi Yan's unique skill. Without his personal teachings, others can't use such power, even if they know the principle. The sneak attacker shook his head. "I'm sure that it's definitely Yi Yan's true teachings. Otherwise, my full-strength claw attack wouldn't have been so easily neutralized. Even when that young man used the swimming dragon movement technique, I even thought that it was Yi Yan who appeared in front of me. At this time, we will pay more attention." Zhao nodded, and his tone became more formal. "Recently, there have been some changes within Kunlun. Perhaps our information is a little delayed. When will your miss appear?" The sneak attacker asked indifferently. "Miss is already on her way here." Zhao said slowly, "Mister, don't worry. Even if Miss doesn't arrive, it won't affect your assessment. As for this operation, it's because our information was wrong that you were injured. I will explain this to Miss later, and your assessment results won't be recorded." "Humph," the sneak attacker said indifferently. "After this, it seems that I can't completely trust your information. Does the omission of information about Yi Yan's student mean that your situation in Kunlun is actually not good?" Zhao said indifferently. "Mister, you worry too much. Aquamarine Club is just the tip of the iceberg. I can only believe what I see." The sneak attacker waved his hand. "You can leave. I'm going to continue healing." Zhao bowed and said, "There's one more thing. Black Dragon King's claw is very powerful. Miss said that you've only exerted a very small part of its power. She hopes you can study it carefully. But remember, you can't use it more than twice a day. Otherwise, your life will be in danger." He grunted softly. Zhao also tactfully left with Ding 4. After closing the door in the wing room, the sneak attacker slowly took off his mask. After taking off the mask, what appeared was a slightly wooden face with a stiff expression. But the sneak attacker then tore off a layer of skin from his face. What he tore off was a mask made of human skin. This was his original appearance. Big Lu Jiaming. After Zhao left, he walked into the depths of the club alone. Suddenly, there came the sound of a zither. On the way, the servants either covered their ears or hugged their heads, rolling on the ground in pain, but they resisted the urge to scream. Zhao sighed, walked through the corridor, and pushed open a door. In the room, a short-haired woman in white was playing the people alone. She closed her eyes and was completely immersed in the music. Only when she finished playing the song did she slowly open her eyes. "Zhao, I feel that I've improved a lot this time. I've already reached the level of a god. This song, Great Sun, White Bird, I've completely understood it." The short-haired woman raised her head, her expression filled with indescribable joy. "Miss is talented and intelligent. Naturally, this song, Great Sun, White Bird, is not a problem." Zhao considered and said, "I've just told Mr. Liu." The white-clothed woman carefully put down the pipa and said indifferently, "What did he say?" Zhao said, "Mr. Liu seems to be dissatisfied with the club's intelligence. The sudden appearance of a fifth-rank surpasser injured him. I'm afraid The white-clothed woman said indifferently. For this kind of person who wants to climb up, it's not a bad thing to be a little bit hurt. Only this way can he admit his weakness. Black Dragon King's claw can only become stronger by devouring the hatred and jealousy of the host. His unwillingness to admit his weakness will be his motivation to move forward. He seems to be in a hurry to see Miss. Jiawan continued. The white-clothed woman said, "Tell him I haven't arrived yet. I should still be on my way here. It won't be good if I suddenly appear in Firecloud City." Jiawan nodded. "I know what to do." "Then what about that 5th rank surpasser from Firecloud General Headquarters?" The white-clothed woman said indifferently. "He's just a small surpasser. Perhaps in a place like Firecloud City, he's already at the top. But in the real Azure Sky, he's only at the level of being able to walk. However, it's not easy to have such strength at such a young age. Why wasn't such a talent discovered earlier? It's a pity that the Black Dragon King's Claw has already recognized him as its master. It's a waste to forcefully take it away. This big Liu has quite a lot of potential." According to Mr. Liu, he seems to be Yi Yan's student. The white-clothed woman was slightly surprised. She frowned slightly and muttered, "This is indeed an accident, especially this Yi Yan. His promotion speed in Kunlun is too fast. More importantly, this person is not easy to control. Until now, he hasn't joined any side. Should I say he's careful, or should I say he's slippery?" Jiawan said, "I heard that Yi Yan is about to step into the 6th rank. It's really shocking." The white-clothed woman said, "That proves that Firecloud City has never been suitable for him. Some people can only unleash all their potential in the right place. It's like a dragon entering the sea, causing rain and clouds to overturn. Firecloud City is still too small for Yi Yan in the past. It seems that Kunlun is his current stage. When I came out, I heard that a cabinet elder seemed to be interested in taking Yi Yan as his disciple. I don't know if this matter will succeed. Kunlun's future has many variables." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The white-clothed woman frowned as if she was unhappy. Jiawan walked out of the door. "I'm discussing something important with Mississippi, don't you know?" The person who came to knock on the door was Bing 7. At this time, he lowered his head. "Someone is outside and insists on coming in. Don't you know how to deal with such a small matter?" Jiawan's voice was slightly heavy. Bing 7 said, "The person who came is not an ordinary person. He's a law enforcer from Firecloud. He insists that he suspects a fugitive has entered the club and wants to enter to investigate." Jiawan frowned. "Has the identity been confirmed? Is he really from the Firecloud police station?" "It's confirmed. The identity is not fake." Bing 7 quickly said, "If it's the usual way, I'm afraid the other party will." "Where is he now?" "In the lobby." Bing 7 quickly said, "For the time being, I understand." Jian nodded and said, "I will deal with this matter. You go and arrange for someone to send Mr. Liu away. Remember to be careful." "Miss, this Officer Ma?" The Liu just came, and he caught up with him so quickly. The white-clothed woman chuckled. "It seems that he's still not careful enough." Jiawan frowned and said, "But before Mr. Liu came in, we have already checked him. He didn't carry anything on him." The white-clothed woman said casually, "Since he's a Yan student, I'm not surprised that he has such ability. Well, I'm more and more interested. Go and arrange it. I want to meet this rising star of Firecloud City." After saying that, the white-clothed woman directly moved. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and took out the pipa that she had put away. Jiawan immediately took a deep breath and said hesitantly, "Miss, you don't count. I don't believe you." The white-clothed woman said indifferently, "Let's find a stranger to comment on it. Then we'll know whether my attainments in the pipa have improved or not." "Miss, you're talented and noble. He's just a nobody in this place. How can he do that?" Jiawan was shocked and quickly persuaded her. There's no distinction between nobility and lowliness in the path of happiness. The white-clothed woman chuckled. "You're thinking too much." Jiawan, what the F *CK are you playing? Don't you know? Don't come out and harm others. Chapter 2403. In the lobby, Officer Ma was facing the dozens of staff members who were standing in order. He was weak, but at least he didn't lose in terms of momentum, because behind him stood the Stage 5 surpasser Xiao Luo, Azure Blue. This Olma had never felt so confident before, because when Yi Yin was here, he had never stood up for him like this. It's been 5 minutes. If you don't get out of my way, don't blame me. Sir Ma too. Zero snorted. You're obstructing the law enforcement. Do you believe that I'll arrest all of you and make you squat on the street with your hands behind your head? He had already said so much, but he was only trying to scare them. However, the expressions of the group of people in front of him did not change at all. They were even indifferent, as if they were only responsible for standing here. Officer Ma too. Zero couldn't help frowning. They are stalling for time. He said to little Luo in a low voice, 5 minutes. Even if that guy was inside, you should have run away by now. It's hopeless. Let's retreat for now. Little Luo said, someone's coming. The crowd suddenly opened up a path, and a graceful woman wearing a sky blue Chong Sam walked in leisurely with a sandalwood folding fan in her hand. The woman had a beautiful smile with a mole under her eye. Her smile was so seductive. Azure Blue. Old Ma couldn't help but stare blankly. Then, he quickly muttered a few words as if he was chanting a curse. I love my wife very much. I love my wife very much. I love. When the woman came to them, Sir Ma too. Zero heaved a sigh of relief, and his eyes became clear again. He glanced at the two bulges in the woman's Chong Sam and swallowed. He squinted his eyes and asked, Are you in charge of this club? I'm Peiyulo. Nice to meet you. The woman smiled and slightly squatted. It was a very graceful greeting. This woman was specially trained. Sir Ma too. Zero's eyelids twitched. He wondered if little Luo could stand it. Such a vigorous young man might not be able to stand it. Little Luo, you have to stand it. You'll often see such big scenes in the future. Sir Ma too. Zero reached out his hand and whispered to little Luo, she's a succubus. Be careful not to fall in her trap. I'll take you to the adult world to broaden your horizons. Little Luo nodded impolitely. The key was the woman named Peiyulo. She didn't care about their whispering. May I know the purpose of your visit? Peiyulo asked with a smile. Cut the crap. Sir Ma too. Zero calmed himself down. I don't believe that you don't know what I've been here for so long. I won't beat around the bush tomorrow. Give me the person. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that your club's business. Sir, are you threatening us? Peiyulo said calmly. You said we're hiding a criminal and you want to search inside. Do you have a search warrant? I'm handling a case in Firecloud City, so I don't need a search warrant. Sir Ma too. Zero shrugged. You can ask around if you don't believe me. I don't know about other places, but this is the rule in Firecloud City. Peiyulo said indifferently. I don't know whether he and City needs a search warrant or not, but as long as it's in the Blue U Club, it needs a search warrant, and it must be specially approved by the headquarters of the Southern Heaven Gate. Nan what? Officer Ma too. Zero was stunned and decided to change his mind. At this time, Peiyulo leaned forward a little, gently opened the fan in his hand, and whispered in a low voice, Sheriff, I'll tell you a secret. The Blue U Club is the property of the master of the Tongtian Island. Do you really want to break in? Tongtian? Sir Ma too. Zero widened his eyes and coughed. Well, this is a good club. I'll come again when I'm free. Sorry to bother you. Aha! Sir Ma too. Zero pulled little Luo and walked out of the door. Let's talk outside. At this moment, Peiyulo closed her sandalwood fan. Sir, since you're here, why don't you stay here for a while? I have something to give you. Sir Ma too. Zero frowned and stopped. At this time, Peiyulo had already moved aside slightly. Please, both of you. In the wing room, it perfectly explained what elegance was. Many places in Azure Blue were highly industrialized, but there were also some places that had always adhered to this kind of ancient style. For example, Kunlun. But Sir Ma too. Zero wasn't in the mood to enjoy this luxurious environment. He was even a bit nervous. This is Yunchi tea from Heaven Pavilion. Please have a good taste. Peiyulo poured tea for the two of them, and the atmosphere became more and more oppressive. Officer Ma too. Zero had to recite the wife's heart sutra to resist. Little Luo, you have to hold on. He prayed in his heart. Ahem, Miss Pei, please don't drink the tea. Why did you ask us to stay? Sir Ma too. Zero calmed himself down and said, We didn't know that this place belongs to that big shot. Please forgive us if we offended you. But if you want to pursue the matter, I'll admit it. But I hope you can understand that we're chasing a criminal. You're Officer Ma, right? Pei Yulo suddenly asked. Sir Ma too. Zero asked, You know me? Pei Yulo smiled and said, I heard your name from another gentleman in Kunlun. I didn't expect to meet you until today. Kunlun? Sir Ma too. Zero frowned. I don't have any relatives in Kunlun. Pei Yulo said, Mr. Yin, old Yi? Officer Ma too. Zero was even more surprised. He looked at Pei Yulo from head to toe, but no one knew what he was thinking. Pei Yulo frowned and said, Mr. Yi was a frequent guest of the club for a period of time. I'm talking about the main club in Kunlun. At that time, this little girl was fortunate enough to be called by Mr. Yi a few times, so I have a deep impression of him. Oh, Sir Ma too. Zero nodded and put his hand in front of his forehead, not looking at Pei Yulo anymore. Is that so? Is old Ye's body okay? Can he take it? Mr. Yi is fine, Pei Yulo said softly. Mr. Yi met a benefactor in Kunlun, and he has a bright future. I heard that he's one of the most popular people in Southern Skygate. That guy, Sir Ma too. Zero sighed and nodded. I know he'll make a name for himself sooner or later. Miss Pei, sorry for offending you. Please forgive me. Pei Yulo suddenly said, Sheriff Ma, is the person you're chasing after a man wearing a faceless mask? Sir Ma too. Zero's face changed. He glanced at little Luo and nodded. Miss Pei, what do you mean? He did come. Pei Yulo said, but he's gone now. He's a member of our club. The rule of the Blue U Club is that all members will be protected by the club, even in Kunlun. Officer Ma too. Zero couldn't help frowning, but there was nothing he could do. If one were to ask if there was anything above the law in Blue Sky, normal people would definitely say no. However, the law enforcement departments under Southern Skygate could only smile bitterly and admit that there was. Miss Pei, what do you mean? Sir Ma too. Zero thought he was being polite. If it weren't for the fact that you're old Ye's lover, I would have flipped the table and flipped the cards. As long as he's in the club, we'll protect him. Pei Yulo said calmly. Officer Ma too. Zero was about to launch an attack, and his rage bar was almost full. Pei Yulo suddenly said, but if he's not in the club, he's not under our control. Do you understand, Officer Ma? Sir Ma too. Zero's anger decreased by half. Little Luo whispered to him. Miss Pei said that he's already left the club. Sir Ma too. Zero was speechless. He didn't know what the mysterious woman meant. Was she going to take care of it or not? What kind of role did Blue U Club play in the underground gangs of the Eastern Branch? What was the identity of the attacker who used the forbidden device? Also, Sang Kun had mentioned before his death that the Lu of the Eastern District would secretly enter Bayou Clubhouse every month. You've already let him go, and now you're saying that you don't care, but we don't know where he's gone. Sir Ma too. Zero sneered. Miss Pei, I don't think you're convincing us. Pei Yulo said, the owner of Black Dragon King's Claw will suffer from the pain of being eroded by the demon aura and being burned by the poisonous fire on the night of the full moon. It can only be suppressed in an extremely cold place. Officer Ma, what's the date today? Full moon? Isn't it tomorrow night? Sir Ma too. Zero was confused. What do you mean? I told you that I have some gifts for you. Pei Yulo chuckled. These are my gifts for you. I hope you like them. Sir Ma too. Zero was even more confused. At this time, Pei Yulo stood up slowly and said, You too. Please drink this tea before you leave. It's rare for you to come to the Blue U Club. Let me show my hospitality. She didn't even give Sir Ma too. Zero a chance to ask her more questions before she left. But her fragrance didn't leave. Sir Ma too. Zero sighed and rubbed his nose. No wonder old Yi couldn't resist her. Well, little Luo, your teacher is a man too. He has been fighting alone since he was born. Sometimes he would join a mixed pair competition. You're his student, so please don't mind him. Officer Xiao Luo smiled casually and took a sip of the tea. Uncle Ma, you should drink it too. It's good for your cultivation. Oh, Officer Ma too. Zero couldn't help opening his mouth and taking a sip of the tea. Instantly, a warm current started to flow in his body. Serma 2. Zero blinked. F*CK, this is spiritual tea. It's at least grade 1. How come I didn't notice it just now? You've been watching the show. In the room, Serma 2. Zero's thick hair started to emit thin air. He was sitting cross-legged, trying to digest the effect of the spiritual tea. Based on his experience, this cup of spiritual tea was probably equivalent to several months of his salary. More importantly, it was a free meal. That would be a great deal. Seeing this, little Luo smiled casually. At this moment, the tea in the teapot in front of him turned into a white mist and floated to Officer Ma 2. Zero's nose. He inhaled the mist as he breathed. Officer Luo didn't stay in the wing room, but left. Outside the wing room, there was a courtyard with pavilions and terraces. He liked this kind of environment, so he walked around casually. Suddenly, an out-of-tune pipa sound began to jump in the courtyard. Officer Luo couldn't help blinking his eyes. A short-haired woman in white clothes was sitting in the hall beside the rockery. She covered her face and held a pipa. Pearls of all sizes were hitting the jade plate. A cloud of mist rose from the ground. The woman in white clothes was sitting in the pavilion, looking gorgeous. Little Luo went back to the room after a moment of silence. He really went back. On the other side of the rockery, Pei Yulo sighed and asked tentatively, "Miss, he's gone. Do you want to continue blowing smoke?" There was a blower under Pei Yulo's feet that blew several basins of dry ice. Humph, ignorant kid, he must be ashamed of his inferiority. The woman in white stopped and sighed. It's a pity that the song is too high and too few. No one in this world can understand what I mean. No, you're just F***king terrible at playing the pipa, a martial artist who doesn't understand romance. The woman in white clothes said indifferently, "It seems that Yian's student is just so-so. A 1. I'll leave him to you. Don't you like Yian? You can teach his student." Pei Yulo didn't say anything. From her point of view, other than the fact that he was a little handsome, there was nothing too outstanding about him. However, he was already a level 5 surpasser at such a young age, which was indeed worth paying attention to. "Miss, I don't understand. Why do you want me to reveal Mr. Lu's information to Ma Haud?" Pei Yulo frowned. "Mr. Lu is suffering from the forbidden tool on the night of the full moon. Want to put Mr. Lu in danger?" The woman in white clothes said indifferently, "If he wants to get the support of Aquamarine, he must show enough results. If he can get through this crisis, he will pass the test." "What if he fails?" Pei Yulo asked in a low voice. The woman in white clothes said casually, "It's just changing the host of the forbidden tool." As she spoke, the white-clothed woman hugged the pipa and glanced at the closed door from afar. She snorted softly and left. Pei Yulo shook her head and asked people to put away the blower and dry ice before leaving. Before leaving, the door of the room was opened and Serma 2. Zero walked out with a rosy face. It was obvious that his cultivation had improved. Pei Yulo opened her mouth in surprise. She knew the power of her Mrs. Random playing of the zither. Any great grandmaster under the 5th level would feel uncomfortable after hearing it. The spirit tea was not given for free. She had already planned to let people carry Sheriff Ma out. But Serma 2. Zero wasn't affected at all. Is it him? Pei Yulo subconsciously looked at the young surpasser, but he found that the young surpasser was looking at him and nodded slightly. At the same time, a deep voice rang in her ears. It was little Luo's voice. "A pot of tea and a piece of pipa. Thank you for your hospitality. Sorry for disturbing you today." Pei Yulo's heart beat violently, and it took her a long time to calm down. He had already left the Blue U Club. Mr. Ye's student. Chapter 2404. Green U Club. A man with the mark D9 came to Pei Yulo and said respectfully, "They've left, and so have the task force outside. Lord 1, do you need someone to follow those 2 guys?" "No need," Pei Yulo said indifferently. "Just keep an eye on Mr. Lu. There's nothing for you to do here. You can leave now." "Yes." After Ding Zhou left, Pei Yulo suddenly picked up a bell and casually shook it twice. Behind the screen, A black shadow flashed and appeared. Different from the other staff of Greenyu, who wore white robes and masks, this person wore black clothes and a black cloth. On the square cloth on his face, Chun-san was written with silver handwriting. You, investigate the background of Yi Yan students. Pei Yulo said indifferently. Starting from their birth, I want all the details. That black-clothed Chun-san only nodded his head and left quietly. At this moment, a chaotic lute sound came. Pei Yulo couldn't help but sigh. Miss is really not talented in music. She shook her head and pulled open a drawer made of golden silkwood, taking out an extremely gorgeous brocade box and putting it on the table. Then, Pei Yulo opened the brocade box and took out 2 small earplugs, putting them into her ears. Then, she started to read a book from the old era called Great Learning. After leaving Greenyu Club, Sirma 2, Zero sped up and didn't slow down until he entered the downtown area of Huayin City. On one hand, it was because he had improved his cultivation, and, on the other hand, it was because he really wanted to leave Greenyu Club. The flying car stopped in front of a cold noodle stand under an overpass. Sirma 2, Zero was probably a frequent customer of this cold noodle stand. After he sat down, the female owner greeted him warmly. Although this place is small and the environment is very ordinary, you definitely won't find this smell anywhere else. Sirma 2, Zero drank the tea made from the tea leaves, looking quite comfortable. My wife and I often came here when we were young. So did your teacher and Dumbo. Lung Feng. Little Luo listened with interest. The cold noodle is here. He didn't know if the taste was good or not, but the speed at which the dishes were served was very fast. Although the hands that served the 2 bowls of cold noodles looked rough, they were very clean. There were no signs of fingernails sticking into the noodles. Shredded cucumber, shredded carrots, some peanuts, homemade meat sauce, and 1 braised egg. The smell of sesame oil and vinegar mixed together. Beside the river, there was always a lingering smell of mud, but at this time, it was neutralized by the smell of food. In the end, it became a very common smell, the smell of human kindness. Officer Ma continued to gobble up the food without hesitation. After Officer Luo tasted a few mouthfuls, he told the landlady that he would pack a portion to take away when he left. The owner's wife replied, yes. It was the smell of fireworks. Phew! Nice. Sirma 2, Zero had finished eating. He picked his teeth and narrowed his eyes. I feel more comfortable here. My butt hurt just now. Did you see the menu? 3,000 for a pot of tea, 500 for a plate of sunflower seeds. Damn it. Little Luo blinked. He thought Sirma 2, Zero was paying attention to the big scene, but it seemed that he was paying attention to other things. Consumption? He thought for a while and said, Uncle Ma, I heard that Miss Pei said something to you, so you didn't investigate further. Does this Greenyu Club have a big background? Sirma 2, Zero nodded and said solemnly, it's more than just a big background. It has a big background. Behind it is the one from Tongtian Island. Tongtian Island? Little Luo thought for a while. Sirma 2, Zero asked curiously, didn't Oldie tell you about this? Little Luo shook his head. He didn't. I see. Sirma 2, Zero said, maybe Oldie didn't want you to know so early so that you could focus on cultivation. But you're an adult now, and it's time for you to know. You should know the origin of the great cultivation era in pale blue, right? It's written in the history books. You don't look like the kind of person who doesn't study hard. Little Luo said, it said that more than 1,000 years ago, a strange man figured out the cultivation method from the prehistoric relics and became the first cultivator in pale blue. This eccentric man carved the cultivation method he had comprehended on a cliff for future generations to refer to. From then on, the great era of cultivation of azure blue was officially opened. You're quite good at memorizing history books. Sirma 2, Zero nodded. That place is Kunlun, which is why Kunlun is the center of pale blue. Later generations called him Tao Ancestor to commemorate him. He had 7 students in total. Tongtian Island is the inheritance place of Shangqing Heavenly Lord, one of the 7 disciples of Tao Ancestor. Now you know how powerful the background of Azure U Club is, right? Heavenly Lord was a title that only the most powerful cultivators in pale blue could get, and it was the most powerful force in the world. Heavenly Lord was like a nuclear bomb when he attacked. They made the highest law in pale blue together, and they had the right to disobey the law. No wonder you avoided Ms. Pei, Uncle Ma. Little Luo nodded. I'm not afraid of her. Sir Ma too. Zero was annoyed. I didn't argue with her because she's a woman and your master's lover. It's not like we can't go against Tong Tian Island. After all, the Southern Heavenly Gate is under the name of another celestial venerable. Of course, the celestial venerables probably won't care about the nonsense of the children below. Little Luo thought for a while and said, Azure U Club seems to be related to the East Branch. Yeah, but I don't know how much they are related. Sir Ma too. Zero had a headache. If Tong Tian Island is really behind this, then it's really complicated. I didn't expect that there would be 3 heavenly lords in Fiery Cloud City. 3? Don't you know? Sir Ma too. Zero was stunned. Niu Dagwang and his wife, and Sun Ming are from Crescent Moon Mountain. The one from Crescent Moon Mountain and the master of Tong Tian Island seem to have disliked each other since a long time ago. Are Southern Sky Gate and Crescent Moon Mountain on good terms? Little Luo asked casually. Sir Ma too. Zero smiled. Silly boy, Southern Sky Gate is only a subordinate of Heavenly Lord Tai Ching, and it's not qualified to be compared with Crescent Moon Mountain. Kunlun is on the same level as Crescent Moon Mountain, and Southern Sky Gate is only a law enforcement department of Kunlun. However, in terms of relationship, the relationship between Kunlun and Crescent Mountain can only be said to be neither good nor bad. Is it normal? Thank you for telling me this, Uncle Ma. Little Luo smiled. Sir Ma too. Zero waved his hand. You're old Ye's disciple, just like my disciple. If I don't take care of you in Fiery Cloud, who will? I'm not afraid that old Yi will make trouble for me. He poured a cup of tea for Sir Ma too. Zero, Sir Ma too. Zero felt he deserved it, so he drank it. He felt more comfortable after drinking it, and it was even better than the spiritual tea he drank in Azure U Club. It must be because he was in a good mood. Okay, are you full? Sir Ma too. Zero exhaled and said energetically, let's get to work. Little Luo asked, what's next? Sir Ma too. Zero said, according to Pei Yulo, the guy who sneak attacked us will be counterattacked by the forbidden tool tomorrow night, and he can only suppress it in an extremely cold place. There are only a few places in Fiery Cloud City that can suppress something as weird as Black Dragon King's Claw. If that guy doesn't want to go far, he'll probably be near the city center. Most likely, he'll be at the ice spring under the fiery mountain. Sir Ma quickly stood up. Let's go back to the headquarters and call some people to deploy. F***CK, I don't believe we can't catch that guy with a large task force. How dare he sneak attack me and hit my back? F***CK. Officer Ma's principle was to fight together if he could. If he could bully others with numbers, he would bully others with numbers. Officer Ma, are you leaving? The landlady of the noodle stall walked over. Did you order some cold noodles? Little Luo smiled. Landlady, I'll write down an address. Please send it to me. I'll pay for it. Oh, okay. Limitless City. In a dilapidated building, it was a living place with all the essentials. The floors were filled with all kinds of small shops. Food, drinks, clothes, cell phones, trinkets, and tattoos. Every small shop was also a small family. Shimin Ka was walking in the narrow aisle quite familiarly, and from time to time, she would greet some merchant, as if she was very familiar with this place. After a while, under the lead of Shimin Ka, Di Qinglong arrived in front of a small shop that sold pirated books at first glance. The counter directly blocked the entire entrance. Behind the counter, there was a curly-haired man with stubble on his face. He was smoking a cigarette, wearing a small white singlet and large shorts. At this time, he was lying on a chair, reading an adult magazine with great interest. Di Qinglong frowned and subconsciously glanced at Shimin Ka. Shimin Ka shrugged and knocked on the counter, shouting, I have the strength to pick up mountains, and my spirit is unparalleled. Your mother is still alive. The curly-haired man raised his head. When he saw that it was Shimin Ka, he stood up immediately. When he spoke, the cigarette was still on his lips. "Xing," Shimin Ka said again. The curly-haired man swept the things on the counter into the shop quickly. Then he tiptoed and hooked the shutter, pulling it down fiercely. Shimin Ka was quick. When the shutter fell down, she reached out and lifted it. The shutter stayed in the air and didn't move. The curly-haired man looked disgusted. "I've said that we've cut off all ties. Why are you still looking for me? Don't make trouble. This time I really have something to ask you. Let's settle the previous account first." The curly-haired man used all his strength but still couldn't pull the shutter down. "I don't want to do business with you. Get lost." "Xing, this time it's really urgent." Shimin Ka also used all his strength. "Xing, have you forgotten your dream? Back then, your ghost spell book was invincible. How can you waste your talent? Get lost. What are you talking about if you don't have money?" At this moment, when the two of them were in a deadlock, a hand reached out and made a gesture. Then, a stack of banknotes appeared on the counter. Di Qinglong patted the stack of banknotes indifferently. "Is it enough?" Bang! The shutter was pushed up by Shimin Ka at once. "Come in," Xing said indifferently. Anyway, the stack of banknotes on the counter was gone. The space in the pirated bookstore was also narrow, but surprisingly, it wasn't messy. Instead, there was enough space for 3 people to sit down. The curly-haired man was counting the banknotes and said casually, "Don't look for me if it's a small matter. I can't solve the big matter. If it's a normal matter, you can go back and check the information yourself." Shimin Ka's face instantly turned black. He didn't talk nonsense, but took out the crumpled origami paper and said seriously, "Xing, help me take a look and see what this thing is for." The curly-haired man was still counting the banknotes. He didn't raise his head when he heard Xing. He took the origami paper over and pinched it with his fingers. Then, his eyes moved slightly. Cicada's wings? "What's this?" Xing threw the banknotes aside and straightened the origami paper with both hands. He put it under the light of the ceiling lamp and looked at it carefully. "Where did you get this thing?" After a while, the curly-haired man frowned. "Have you been to Styx River?" Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong looked at each other. Shimin Ka said in surprise, "Are you saying that this talisman is from Styx River?" "It looks like it," Xing muttered. "It's roughly the framework of Styx River's exclusive ghost spell, but there are some changes in the middle. The person who drew this talisman is a little evil." "Do you know the specific function of this talisman?" Di Qinglong asked coldly. Xing looked at Di Qinglong casually. He thought for a while and said, "Since it's the framework of ghost spell, it can only work on the soul. But as for the specific function, give me some time. I need to disassemble and study it." "How long?" Di Qinglong asked directly. Xing muttered, 3 days. "This is the spell of the Styx River's royal family. It's not that easy to crack it." Di Qinglong kept adding more money. He was really greedy for money. Shimin Ka was very sad. "Duck King, was it so easy to earn money?" Xing patted his chest and said, "Give me a while, half an hour." As he said that, the curly-haired man moved the chair away. He lifted the floor under the chair and revealed a basement. Then he went in directly. At that moment, Di Qinglong frowned and muttered, "I remember that 5 years ago, there was a genius talisman maker in Huiyun City. He successfully refined a 7th-level fairy talisman before the age of 20. I think his name was Yun Xinghe." Shimin Ka shrugged and said calmly, "His name was Xing." In a chapter. Chapter 2405. While they were waiting, Shimin Ka said that he had something to do and would be back soon. Di Qinglong naturally wouldn't relax and immediately asked for an explanation. Shimin Ka then pointed at a foot massage shop next to the pirated bookstore and said that she had gray fingernails and she would come back after getting some. Anyway, she was waiting, and if Di Qinglong was interested, he could also come with her. Shimin Ka even stepped on the chair and started to take off his shoes in order to gain his trust. Finally, Di Qinglong waved his hand in disgust. In fact, the waiting process had exceeded the half an hour that Curly Hair Xing said. It was a full hour before Curly Hair Xing crawled out from the basement with a tired face. Coincidentally, Shimin Ka also came back with a refreshed face and carried a few bottles of energy drinks that were different for physical strength. Di Qinglong felt that Shimin Ka's hand touched something and it was a little dirty. He didn't accept it, but looked like he had run out of patience. He asked directly, "What did you find out?" Shimin Ka also looked at him attentively. Under the dim light, Xing sat down weakly and said, "This kind of incantation should be illegally modified. Although the main frame is from Styx's ghost spell, there are at least 3 kinds of fillers in it. It can't be found in the official registration of the incantation. I don't know how much time the person who created this incantation spent, but this guy is definitely a genius. If I didn't guess wrongly, Shimin Ka, the talisman paper that you gave me should be one of them, right?" Shimin Ka said calmly. "Why do you say so?" Curly hair, Xing said angrily. "It's not complete. I tried to deduce it in reverse. I deduced about 50 to 60 kinds, but I feel that there are at least a few hundred pieces of incantation. The time is too short. I can't complete it." Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong couldn't help but look at each other. This strange incantation was taken out from the gift box sent by the mysterious person. It was an exquisite paper crane. Such a paper crane was everywhere in Guzei's ward. "Master Yun, when this kind of incantation is combined, what specific effect will it have?" Di Qinglong was obviously convinced by curly hair, Xing's means. He knew that he was a real master of incantation and couldn't help but use honorifics. At this moment, curly hair, Xing scratched his head. After a while, he said indifferently, "Master Yun is dead. Don't mess around. I'll pay more." Shimin Ka rolled her eyes. "Hurry up and say it. According to the results of my reverse calculation, it should be mainly to summon the soul," curly hair, Xing muttered. "In addition, it should have the effect of replenishing the power of the soul. If there were enough of these talismans, they would form a very special spatial force field. Similar to the formations set up by array masters, it could continuously absorb the wandering souls in the surroundings and turn them into nutrients to nourish the target. However, the best place to decorate it is either a grave or a pit for the dead. Otherwise, it won't be effective." Shimin Ka subconsciously frowned. "What if it's a hospital?" "Hospital?" Curly hair, Xing thought for a while and said, "The hospital is fine too. There are many dead people in that kind of place. There is also the morgue. The yin energy there is also quite heavy, but it is not the most ideal place." "Oh, was this found in the hospital?" Shimin Ka ignored Xing's doubts. She looked at Di Qinglong and said, "Guzei's diagnosis and treatment book said that his soul was damaged, so he is still in a coma. If what Xing said is right, then the guy who sent the paper crane actually had good intentions." Di Qinglong only frowned. He had a close relationship with Gu Yao, but he had never heard Gu Yao mention that he had any relatives or friends. Since he could put in so much effort to make the talisman, he was obviously not a stranger. Curly hair, Xing knocked on the table and said, "Shimin, I want to take a look at the place where this talisman was found. It's okay if you don't pay more this time." Shimin Ka laughed softly. "It seems that you have finally found something that you are interested in." Curly hair, Xing did not say anything. He stood up and put on a short shirt casually. Then he said directly, "Let's go." He did not even button up his shirt. Di Qinglong, who always had high standards for his appearance, could not help but frown at this moment. He could only sigh. Also, how did this guy's cigarette ash grow to the length of a finger and not fall off? "Master Yin, when you get on the car, can you not smoke?" Miss Redchild, please have some tea." The director of the Household Affairs Bureau was pouring the tea carefully. Redchild crossed her arms in front of her chest. Her fingers kept knocking on her arms, and her eyebrows were gradually frowning. Hearing that Mayor Tai's daughter had bad patience since she was young, the director felt that things were going to be bad. Bang! At this moment, Redchild waved her hand and directly slapped on the table. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau was suddenly shocked. His hands trembled, and the teapot almost fell to the ground. But he saw Redchild slowly exhaling. When she moved her hand away, there was already a small box on the table. It looked like a box of lip balm or something like that. She unscrewed the box and slowly applied it on her palm. Her face gradually calmed down. The director of the Household Affairs Bureau looked at her with a strange expression. "Director, I found it." The savior came, The director of the Household Affairs Bureau quickly heaved a sigh of relief and directly pulled in a section chief from the office. Red Child slowly rubbed her palm and said indifferently, "Read it." The section chief nervously adjusted his glasses and said seriously, "Gao Solan, from Seohwa Town, was born with pick something I can't find in Seohwa Town." Red Child raised her eyebrows. According to the records of the Labor Bureau, Gao Solan joined the Fire King group 30 years ago. The section chief flipped through the documents. She was the deputy general manager of the logistics department of the group. This position is not low. Did Gao Solan have a marriage partner? Red Child asked directly. There is no record of this. The section chief quickly said, but there is indeed a record of her giving birth. When she gave birth, she was admitted to the Fire King Hospital. When did it happen? 29 years ago. 29 years old? Red Child couldn't help but ponder. If she remembered correctly, Gao Yang was at most 25 years old this year. The time didn't match. What's the child's name? No, it's not written. The section chief shook his head. The father's name is not on the birth certificate. Only the mother's name is Gao Tsuan. What about the Fire Cloud Hospital? It closed down. The section chief hesitated and said, the Fire Cloud Hospital was a shareholder of the Fire Cloud Group. Later, after the Fire Cloud Group closed down, the hospital was liquidated and sold. If I remember correctly, the original location should have become a shopping mall. Then, is there no way to confirm the child's current identity? Red Child really frowned this time. That's not it. The section chief quickly said, actually, there's still a way, but it may be a little troublesome. Don't hesitate, Red Child said with a straight face. The section chief had a look at the Bureau of Household Affairs, but he saw that the Bureau of Household Affairs actually turned his face away. He could only bite the bullet and said, in fact, the information of all citizens in Huiyuan City, as long as they were born in a regular hospital, will be recorded in the record. Although it may be difficult for the officials to lock onto a certain person as they grow, as long as this record is used, it can directly lock onto a person's position. What do you mean? Red Child couldn't help but show a puzzled look. The section chief had to say, in short, there is a blood jade under the Bureau of Household Affairs. It records the blood records of all citizens of Huiyuan City. When this jade is activated, as long as the person is still in Huiyuan City, it can lock onto his position through the jade. Then what are you waiting for? Go and activate it? This, the section chief said with a difficult expression. Only your mother, Mayor Tai, has the authority to open the blood jade vault, because it concerns the most important information of all citizens of Huiyuan City. Even our bureau chief can't open it. Why don't you go and ask Mayor Tai? Are you sure you can really find it? Red Child asked in a deep voice. It's written on the record that after Gao Solan's child was born, his blood sample was registered. The section chief said carefully, if there's a mistake, it can only be a problem with the record. Red Boy slowly exhaled and raised his hand. The section chief quickly shrank his neck. She snorted, but only took out her phone. Mother, I'll come back for dinner tonight. I'll hang up first. Huiyuan General Headquarters. When he got off the car, Sir Ma 2-0 suddenly frowned, because he saw some police cars in the parking lot that didn't have license plates of the headquarters. Why is the East Branch's car here? Sir Ma 2-0 glanced at little Luo and shook his head. He patted the account book in his arms and walked directly to old Lu's office. Because of Red Child's fire, many places were being dusted. In fact, only a few rooms needed to be renovated. Old Lu's room was one of them. At this moment, Officer Ma 2-0 pushed open the door of the director's office and said, I'm coming in. Then he knocked twice on the door as a sign of acknowledgement. Old Ma, the director, Old Lu, blinked his eyes and said angrily, Cough, cough. Ma howd, don't you see that I have people here? Don't be so rude next time. I'll transfer you to guard the fish pond. The authority of the Director General was immediately apparent. But Sir Ma 2-0 couldn't help but frown. Why is he here? There was another person in Chief Lu's room. Lu Jiaming, the Lu from the Eastern Division. Lu Jiaming stood up and buttoned his suit, saying with a smile, Hello, Sir Ma. And this is the little hero who caught Qin Yokuan. We meet again. Little Luo nodded and said, Officer Lu. Sir Matu. Zero frowned and walked into the office. He snorted, I was thinking of looking for you, but you came here yourself. Good, I don't have to go back and forth. Old Lu, I found something you can do as you see fit. Sir Matu. Zero threw the account book on the table and stared at Lu Jiaming. Is this the account book that Officer Lu mentioned just now? Director Old Lu nodded at this time. Old Ma, you've finally done something serious this time. Yes, with this account book, we can uproot the malignant tumor in the Eastern District. Sir Matu. Zero was stunned. He felt something was wrong. What did you just say the account book that he mentioned? Director Old Lu nodded and said, Oh, I didn't have time to tell you. Just before you came back, Officer Lu reported to me that the branch director of the Eastern Division was corrupt, accepting bribes, practicing favoritism, and providing protection for local evil forces. Officer Lu also provided a list of materials with solid evidence. This includes the account book in your hand. This is strong evidence. Old Lu, do you know? Old Lu waved his hand and stopped Sir Matu. Oh, Old Ma, I know it's urgent. Those guys even dared to kill the important witness, Chun Yokuan, in the detention center of the HQ. They must be crazy. Now, we don't know what else they will do to threaten society, so I've decided to carry out a sudden arrest operation. We must bring these black sheep of the East Branch to justice. We must act fast this time. I've told Officer Lu that he'll provide us with all the necessary help. Officer Lu, please wait outside. I have something to tell Old Ma. Yes, sir. Lu Jiaming nodded and walked out of the office. The door was closed softly, but at the same time, the director's office was hammered hard. Sir Matu, Zero said, believe it or not, if you were not my brother-in-law, I would have hammered you. Old Lu rolled his eyes. Believe it or not, if it were not for my sister, I would have transferred you to guard the fish pond. Lu Jiaming is a traitor. That's how it is on TV. But he obviously wants to be a good person this time. Old Lu shook his head, patting the account book on the table. Do you think Lu Jiaming's name is in it? Sir Matu. Zero gritted his teeth. I searched everywhere, but couldn't find it. The director said indifferently, believe it or not, even if Lu's name is in the account book, I'll erase it secretly. The Eastern Division can't be destroyed from top to bottom. It still needs to operate. That's my bottom line. Do you understand? But it can't be him. But it's him who reported it. Old Lu slowly exhaled. Until this moment, the most prominent person in the East Branch is also him. Old Ma, it's not the Eastern Division that's losing face this time, but the entire Huiyun City's law enforcers. What I want to do is to cover the face of the Eastern Division. Idiot! Sir Matu. Zero cursed, slamming the door and leaving. But the moment he left, he heard his roar. Where are they? Where the F***CK did they go? Get the F***CK out. Follow me to the Eastern Division to catch them. Seeing this, Director Old Lu could not help but smile bitterly and sigh. Old Lu blinked and looked at the little Luo in the office. Oh, you are? Director, I'm new here. I'm learning from Officer Ma. Oh, okay. Old Lu nodded and said earnestly, it's okay to learn from him, but don't be as hot-tempered as him. And close the door gently when you go out. The door frame has just been replaced, so it's not stable. Okay. Old Lu nodded and watched him leave. Strange. Is there such a newcomer? End of chapter. Chapter 2406. The new product was a brand new synthetic energy bar. Tong Xin, as the main person in charge of the development and promotion of this new product, targeted at young professionals. In the recording studio, the cameraman was pressing the shutter quickly, and Teacher Xiao, who, under the direction of the cameraman, constantly made various kinds of poses. Teacher Xiao, who in front of the camera, seemed to be another person. Miss Tong, where did you find this person? The chief cameraman looked at the original film on the screen and said in amazement. Although he was a bit stiff at the beginning, he immediately got into the mood. He doesn't look like a newbie. Tong Xin was also looking at the original film that was constantly being generated at this time. Her eyes slightly brightened. I only know that he is a teacher of Huiyun High School, but I don't know if he's been a model before. Looking for a person, he was born to be in the camera. The chief cameraman sighed. At first glance, he can only be described as ordinary, but I didn't expect him to be so compatible with the camera. More importantly, no matter how you shoot, he won't be out of color. This guy actually has no blind spots. TSK, Miss Tong, I dare say this guy will definitely be popular in the future. Tong Xin actually had a kind of unreal feeling at this time. When did this feeling start? It seemed to be yesterday. Teacher Xiao Hu. No, Teacher Li Jianren seemed to have a special magic power. When she met him at the bus station yesterday, at first sight, Tong Xin had a feeling of this is the person. The smooth shooting scene was unexpected. Even Xiao Lily, who had just moved the lunchboxes downstairs and was preparing to sell them, was somewhat dumbstruck at this moment. Was this guy really that Li Paopai from Fiery Cloud High School who had been looked down upon and bullied? Is it fake? Or like Dr. Luo? The one here is not Teacher Xiao Hu, but the older brother or younger brother of the twins, right? Don't say, looking at him, he does seem to be somewhat good-looking. What the hell? Xiao Lily subconsciously rubbed her eyes. She didn't know whether it was the effect of the lighting at the scene or the makeup artist, but she felt that Teacher Xiao Hu's face seemed to be redone. The facial features were the same as before, but there was indeed a different feeling. She even felt that this kind of good looks continued to become more obvious. It was ridiculous. Good, good, good. The chief cameraman shouted a few times at this time. He seemed to be satisfied with the shooting. Everyone has worked hard. Take a break. We can call it a day. After saying that, the chief cameraman clapped his hands generously. Following his applause, the people in the recording studio also responded. Tong Xin was in a good mood. She went directly to Xiao Lily and took a lunchbox and paid for it without hesitation. Sis, why are you giving me double? One of them is for Teacher Li. Tong Xin said grumpily. I didn't expect it to go so smoothly. I thought it would take until the afternoon. Now, it's too late to eat outside, so I can only wrong him. I don't know if Teacher Li will mind. Speaking of which, where is Teacher Li? After a round of applause, everyone started to pack up. Teacher Xiao, who seemed to have disappeared since then. Miss Tong, Mr. Li said that he had something to do, so he left first. A makeup artist walked over with a sponge in her hand. He hasn't even removed his makeup. He left. Tong Xin frowned and immediately took out her mobile phone. With the phone on her neck, Tong Xin was looking at Xiao Lily suspiciously, but she saw that Xiao Lily's gaze was somewhat unnatural. After a while, Tong Xin frowned. I can't get through. His phone is off. Lily, did you say something to Teacher Li? Xiao Lily stammered. I didn't say anything. I just said hello. I promise. That's weird. Child's Heart pondered and said, I also plan to talk to him about the agreement. Forget it. I'll call him later to ask. Xiao Lily was surprised. Sis, don't you have several models to audition? Don't you want to think about it? No, it's him. Tong Xin said decisively. My intuition is always accurate. My intuition tells me that he is the most suitable one. Yeah, I've never photographed such an easy guy, let alone a man. The chief photographer also came over with a sigh. The more I photographed, the more perfect he was, as if he was the most perfect male model in my dream. So perfect. It turns out that there are really ugly and handsome people in this world. Teacher Li is not difficult to judge, right? Tong Xin chuckled, as long as you can see him clearly. The chief photographer smiled and didn't say anything. He took a lunchbox and walked away. Xiao Lily certainly wouldn't give up such a great opportunity to sell to the staff, so she started to work under Tong Xion's eyes. After a while, Xiao Lily came to the chief photographer, who was selecting the films that could be used. Xiao Lily came over and asked, Boss, can I have a look? You can look, but you can't move. The chief cameraman smiled kindly and said, Seeing that you worked so hard to carry the boxed lunch up here. Hey, Xiao Lily blinked. Boss, since you were so generous and bought 2 boxes, I'll give you a cup of milk tea. With that, Xiao Lily sent a cup of leftover milk tea. No, I don't like it. At this time, the milk tea accidentally spilled on the chief photographer's pants. Xiao Lily said in horror, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Forget it. It's okay. I'll go to the bathroom to clean it up. Seeing the other party frowning and leaving with an unlucky expression, Xiao Lily's gaze turned, and she pursed her lips into a smile. Then, she quickly took out her phone and took a few photos of the audition. Then, she quietly walked away. Sister, I remember that I have something to do in the afternoon. I'll go first. The lunchbox basket, please bring it back to the fast food restaurant downstairs when you leave. Lily? Ah, this child. Running and running. He finally caught up with the bus. Teacher Little, who lowered his head, walked all the way to the last seat, sat down, then unbuttoned his collar, and slowly let out a sigh of relief. The building of the shooting site began to move away. Mr. Hu looked back and muttered, I shouldn't have caused any trouble to Miss Tong. I feel that the shooting went quite well, and they are satisfied with me. How could it be? He knew his own business. He was indeed naive and careless. Even if the audition was successful, once the advertisement was released, once it was discovered by the students of Huiyuan High School, it would be followed by overwhelming negative news. He didn't want to implicate the woman who was willing to give him a chance because of himself. Currently, the police have announced the name of the victim. Mr. Hu looked over subconsciously. It was the TV in the bus, which was basically broadcasting the content of a local TV station. The victim's name is Gu Yao. It is reported that the victim who changed her name is similar to the victim of another murder case 2 days ago, a female student of Huiyuan High School. The police of Huiyuan High School have classified this as a serial murder case. Currently, the murderer has not been caught. The police of Huiyuan High School have temporarily named the murderer as Ghost Judgment. The news anchor's voice was not clear among the chatter of the crowd on the bus, but every word was clearly sent to Mr. Hu's ears. He stared blankly at the news on the screen, and his face seemed to be drained of blood. How could it be in a private ward of Huiyuan First People's Hospital? The teenager on the bed was looking at a curly-haired man with a scruffy beard walking back and forth in the ward. He was mumbling something, but he didn't know what he was talking about. There were also Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong. He remembered these two men. A few hours ago, Shimin Ka and Di Qinglong had contacted him and asked him a few strange questions. Perhaps it wasn't strange, but because he couldn't remember many things. Excuse me? Gu Zhe subconsciously opened his mouth. What are you doing? These paper cranes. Is there any problem? Di Qinglong said, Gu Zhe, you just woke up, so you need to breathe more air. Let me bring you out for a walk. He even brought a wheelchair over and carried Gu Zhe onto the wheelchair without saying anything. Then he pushed Gu Zhe out. Shimin Ka then asked, Ah Xing, what's the situation? Curly-haired Ah Xing sat on the floor and muttered, There's one missing. What's one missing? Shimin Ka squatted down and asked. Curly-haired Ah Xing raised his head and said, There's one missing talisman. Including the one you brought to me, there's only 999. There should be one missing. This won't do. The total number of talisman arrays should be 1,000. It's definitely 1,000. I won't be wrong. Shimin Ka frowned and said, You mean this talisman array is incomplete? Almost. Ah Xing thought for a while and said, But it can be used. But since it's incomplete, the effect will naturally be reduced. After Gu Zhe woke up, there was a problem with his memory. Shimin Ka thought of something and said, Could it be because the talisman array is incomplete? Curly-haired Ah Xing muttered, There's this possibility. But I'm not sure how this kid got injured, so it's hard to judge. Moreover, the person who set up this talisman array is not me. In Huiyun City, who has the ability to set up this talisman array? Do you have any idea? Shimin Ka asked closely. This talisman set up? Curly-haired Ah Xing shrugged and said, Sigh. This plaything only needs hands. Shimin Ka said, Didn't you say that this talisman was set up by the royal family of Styx, and there were a few other sects that were combined? What do you mean by only needs hands? Ah Xing shrugged and said, The person who made the talisman and the person who set it up, who said that it must be the same person. What do you mean? The drawing of the talisman array is very advanced, Ah Xing said seriously, but the person who set it up is obviously a novice. Besides, I'm sure that the person who set up the talisman array is not trying to save people. Shimin Ka, although the talisman array can nourish the soul, The method of setting it up is obviously to suppress a person's soul. Shimin Ka's face changed slightly. You're saying that someone hoped that Guze would never wake up? But didn't he wake up? That's why I said that there's one less, Xing said calmly. Shimin Ka was about to say something, but the phone vibrated. He picked it up and answered it. It was a call from the hot-blooded police officer, old Ma's subordinate, Lin Feng. What's the matter? Officer Shimin. Oh no, Mr. Shimin. We found a recording in Gu Yao's house. After analyzing the voice print, we could determine the identity of the man in the recording. Who is it? Shimin Ka quickly asked. His name is Wang Wu. Lin Feng quickly said. He's the younger brother of Wang Lu, the housekeeper of Principal Wang of Huiyin High School. He's unemployed and a slacker. Mr. Shimin, should we send this Wang Wu please back to the police station for investigation? Sir Ma said that we should cooperate with you and listen to your command for the time being. No need, Shimin Ka thought for a while and said, send me Wang Wu's address, and I'll ask him. Right away. 7 p.m. The door of the Eastern Branch was suddenly opened. In the lobby, all kinds of people looked over. They didn't stop. They walked directly into the building without saying a word, under the leadership of Officer Liu, who was like an idol in the Eastern Branch. The young policeman guarding the window didn't know what happened, so they whispered to each other. What happened? Who did Officer Liu bring with him? Don't you know? The fat man with a dark face beside him is Officer Ma from the General Administration. But the atmosphere is not right. Well, didn't our Eastern Branch seize a ton of contraband and make a great contribution? Could it be related to this case? Regardless of whether it was related or not, Liu Jiaming led them to the office of the branch director of the Eastern Branch without saying a word. You guys, go to the office of the 2 deputy directors. Don't say anything, just arrest them. Your team, invite them in one by one according to this list. And you guys, watch the main passageway. On the way, Sir Ma too. Zero quickly gave orders to the others, but he stared at Officer Liu's back angrily all the time. Little Luo, follow me, Sir Ma hummed. Although the director of the Eastern Branch has suffered losses these years, he was still a master when he was young. You're a level 5 surpasser. Remember, don't break his head. If he resists, or if anyone dares to cause trouble, we can break their legs. When Officer Ma too, Zero mentioned level 5, he even emphasized it. Sir Ma, you seem to be referring to something else. Liu Jiaming said indifferently. Sir Ma too. Zero rubbed his hands. Of course not. These people dared to assassinate the prisoners in the detention center. They're so lawless. I'm just afraid that they will put up a resistance. This little Luo is a grade 5 surpasser, a level 5 one. I'm relieved to have him here. Officer Xiao Luo couldn't help sighing, turning his face away subconsciously. He's young, but has a bright future. Liu Jiaming smiled. It's a blessing for Fiery Cloud City. Bang! A loud sound was heard. It came from the office at the end of the corridor. Sir Ma too. Zero's expression changed slightly. He shuddered and rushed out, knocking open the door of the office. At this moment, an old man with grayish-black hair wearing a neat uniform had actually committed suicide by shooting himself in the head.